all right. Welcome everybody to another BD Boxing podcast, broadcasting to you live from the True North. This is indeed your good friend, Mr. BDA, and I sure am glad. That's right, sure I'm glad that everybody could be on board for this one, fellas. In this episode, we got a fantastic one for you. It's another edition of the BDA Morning Show. We get you ready for the day, so get your coffee out, your tea out, whatever you gotta get to fire you up for the day. Hopefully this show helps with that. So we're going to talk about a bevy of things here. A lot of news coming up. A lot of good fights coming up this month. Finally, September the 1st. Doesn't quite feel like a crisp September morning just quite yet. It still feels like summer, but we're on our way, fellas. On our way to the big fight. The big fight. The big fight coming up in about 2 weeks from now. Less than 2 weeks from now. Oh, technically. So we're going to cover all of that plus more. All right, fellas. Before we get down to the fun, let's get the business out of the way. You know the drill. If you want to donate a couple of shekels our way, you're certainly welcome to do so via the Super Chat feature. You can also donate via the Buy Me a Coffee app, link in the description below. Don't forget, you can also join our Patreon for free. I just got a video done for Crawford-Canelo, focusing more on Crawford. Going to be posting that on the Patreon very soon. What else do we get? We've got the Patreon, the Buy Me a Coffee. Oh, you can join the membership program too. That way you get more bang for your buck. You get special emojis, badges, the whole shebang. All right. And that's about it. The most important thing, however, is that you continue to like, you subscribe, and you spread that BDA gospel. All right. So give a big shout out to everybody in the chat. I'm talking about Iron Fist, Nightmurph, the Desperado, Knockout Ned, Grim Reaper, Vince Vegas, Fresh Prince. See Gonzalo's in there as well, and many more people to come, I'm sure. Fellas, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. Now, like I said, we've got the big fight coming up, and it's interesting though. We've got MJ versus Inoue too. That's the day after the Canelo Crawford mega fight. So that one's flying under the radar a little bit. We're also talking about Canelo Crawford, but that MJ versus Inoue fight, it's about as good as it gets. Let me tell you. About as good as it gets. So we're going to talk about that one too. And we're going to talk about it today. Today, we've got some statements coming out from MJ that suggest that he is supremely, and I do mean supremely confident. So we shall see indeed what's going on there. Let's see what people in the chat are saying. Desperado says, I have never seen a fight that was deemed a mismatch when first spoken about turn into a 50-50. So aggressively. Well, we've talked about this ever since the fight was being talked about, that it's akin to Demetrius Andrade versus Benavidez, or to a certain extent to Canelo versus Charlo back in 2023. When those fights were announced, it's it's mismatches. Those are mismatches. Then as the fight gets closer, some people start reacting in a specific way. Their conditioning takes over, and then they start giving their guy a shot at winning. And it's interesting because this one's actually gone through a couple of fluctuations. Initially, it was deemed a mismatch. Then Canelo looked like crap against School, not throwing a lot, only 152 shots. And so now it's Crawford's too good for him. His IQ is off the charts. He's got the X factor. He's got the mutant gene. He's got it all. Now I'm hearing people saying, well, if Canelo wins, we can always decide afterwards to say that he was too big. We can change our minds. But I was listening to Sober's stream yesterday where he said something interesting. He says, well, it's people want to have it both ways. It's a give and take. They want to say Crawford's too smart, but then if he loses, he doesn't get any, they're going to take credit away from Canelo. But they want to have it both ways. It's a give and take. You can't say Crawford's too good, and then if Canelo beats it, well, again, then the other argument against that is, well, it depends on how Canelo beats him. But people are saying all he has is power, and it takes a certain degree of skill to land that power. That's why I never called Wilder a lucky puncher, because at the end of the day, if you throw that shot, you're creating your own fortune in a way, your own destiny. So a lot of big punchers throughout the years who had that big punch in their back pocket, and they just didn't go for it. So, there is a certain degree of technique involved too, and skill in throwing a shot and landing it. But against a skilled operator who's 6 moves ahead, supposedly, like Crawford supposedly is, people are saying that he's, like I said, he's got the mutant gene. He's just different. He built different. He got that dog. He moving different, right? That's what people say. The fuck was that?
This shit ain't nothing to me, man.
Oh, there we go.
I'm a dog. I'm a dog.
So yeah, so I mean, Crawford's supposed to be this guy. They compare him to They're comparing him to Floyd Mayweather and Dimitri Bivol, two defensive masters that managed to outbox Canelo. So that dude should not be getting caught with any one specific shot. He shouldn't be getting iced by one shot. So whatever Canelo does, he's going to deserve credit for beating a pound-for-pound marvel that people say is going to beat Canelo regardless of size. It's the way I see it. But the other thing I've been telling you for weeks now is don't expect Canelo to get any credit. And to a certain extent, if Crawford beats him too, he's going to get discredited, although not as much as Canelo will if he wins. Because I'm telling you, if Canelo wins, the first thing that's going to come out of media members and so-called boxing experts and the people who have been pushing for Crawford to outbox Canelo, the first thing that's going to come out of their mouths is, man, shout out to Crawford, 38 years old, after a 1-year layoff, moving up 2 divisions, taking on such a tough child. What a great guy Crawford is. What a great, or they're going to say, man, if they would have been the same size, Canelo's not going to get any credit. And I'm telling you this because I know people out there get upset when fighter A doesn't get any credit. So I'm just preparing you right away. Just have that in your mind, your subconscious, that he ain't getting any credit. And I don't really care if he does all that much. What else was I going to say? All right, so the title of this video, very interesting. Very interesting that Terence Crawford said that he wasn't going to do any more interviews. It was going to be a media blackout until fight week. But then Canelo came out, somebody released that photo of Canelo sparring Jaron Butsenis, and then all of a sudden the Crawford team had a whole bunch of things to say. Bernie, the boxer, came out, had to make it racial, and started saying that Jaron Ennis was off code, out of pocket, as they say. Bomac also came out to speak. Now Crawford ended up speaking to the media, even though he said it was going to be a blackout. Now all of a sudden he's got a whole bunch of things to say. I'm not one of those people that thinks, oh, they got shook because of the sparring and all that. But now I'm thinking, I'm not saying that they're completely scared or whatever, but it seems like they felt like they had to address Canelo's sparring with Jaron Ennis, which is so outlandish to me that these sparring sessions managed to have that much of an effect on the boxing world. I guess maybe the fact that there's nothing going on right now in boxing played a part in that. But, by the way, speaking of that, before we continue, like I said, shout out to everybody out in the chat. Don't forget to hit like. I was going to say that this Friday, is it Friday? Yes. In my neck of the woods, Montreal, from Le Casino de Montréal, we've got Osleis Iglesias, who's taken over for David Morrell at super middleweight, replacing him as the next southpaw Cuban power puncher, taking on a familiar face that is germane to this upcoming Canelo Crawford fight. I'm talking about Vladimir Shishkin, the guy that lost a close decision to William School. This fight is taking place in the super middleweight division, 12 rounds. And indeed, September the 4th is not on Friday. It is on Thursday. Unfortunately, like I said, it's in Montreal. It's not taking place at the best venue in the world, if you ask me. Australia, Gold Coast Convention Center. It's not taking place there, unfortunately. But it's a little something, just a little something.
Ringside, Gold Coast Convention Centre.
All right, that was a little bit late, but hey, better late than never. That's what I say.
The Gold Coast Convention Centre.
What was I going to say? Yeah, so it's something. It's some live boxing to keep us entertained. I didn't watch that Misfits card that took place on Saturday. Some people say they were entertained by that. I don't even know who Darren Till is. I always get these European MMA fighters confused. But this was boxing, by the way. Man, that knockout of Luke Rockhold, that was a savage knockout. And what else? Salt Pappy. I hate having to say that name, by the way. Salt Pappy getting stunned by Tony Ferguson. And man, I was watching the highlights on YouTube. These commentators, I know they got to play it up. That was more like a Zoomer card. But these commentators from the zone, they were just screaming their lungs off. They're taking the WWE approach where they just scream, oh my, like Tony Ferguson stopped a YouTuber essentially, right? Or a Twitch guy, I forget, whatever, social media personality, not a real boxer. He stops him, doesn't even knock him out. He just flurried and the ref waved it off. And these commentators, oh my God. Why, he stopped a fat Filipino. Why are these people so, I don't know, it's just, it was funny to me. Annoying, but I can see the humor in it. So, I don't know why I'm laughing, man. Hey, shout out to Gonzalo, by the way. Excuse me. I'm a little bit all over the place here early in the morning. Shout out to Gonzalo for his contribution to the super chat. Gonzalo, you didn't have to do that. Come on, man. Come on. But he said via the super chat, salute Mr. BDA. Crawford is a big boy. He can hang with Canelo. No excuses. That's what we've all been saying. It's going to come down to skill. But like I said, if Canelo beats Crawford, don't expect him to get the credit. Don't expect that. Just prepare yourselves already. They're going to say, Canelo, Crawford, he dared to be great. Let's give a big shout out to Crawford moving up two weight divisions. Crawford this, Crawford that. And there's a precedent to that. When William Cepeda beat Farmer in the rematch, did he get any credit? No. It was all about how Farmer had so much heart and how if he would have just thrown a couple of more shots, he would have won. Same thing with Kenneth Sims. Lost to Oscar Duarte. Did I see any credit given to Duarte? No, it's all about what Kenneth Sims could have done and what he didn't do. If he just would have thrown a couple of more shots, he would have won the fight, really. No credit to Duarte, who kept backing him up. So Canelo ain't getting any credit. Believe me. He's just not going to get that. But, I mean, again, if you're overly concerned about who gets credit, who doesn't, you're in the wrong. You're watching boxing for the wrong reasons. Just watch it for the entertainment. That's what you should be focused on. So it's interesting to hear now because, like I said, Terence Crawford, there was going to be a media blackout from the Crawford team. No more talking boxing. No more talking with the media, which he doesn't really like anyway. And all of a sudden now he's there talking to the media. So evidently they felt the need to come out and address the whole Jaron Ennis sparring situation. Now, Bucho sent me this video here. Speaking of the media, before we get into the whole weight hijinks and all that, Bucho sent me this video. This is for those of you that don't speak Spanish. I'll be doing a translation here, but it is interesting to hear from the other side of the news that you guys probably don't hear about or from, which is the Spanish side, the Spanish media when it comes to boxing. Let me see what they're saying here about Crawford Canelo.
Y el charro negro, aquí lo tenemos. Estamos listos para arrancar poco a poco.
They all something about these guys in the Hispanic boxing media or sports media as a whole. They all have the same haircut. Look at that. Especially that last two guys, they just seem to have the same haircut. And the other guy, he's got a weird haircut, something like that, out of the Little Rascals or something. I don't know. But let's see what they get to say.
No hay Bernoco, no hay UFC.
Okay, they're complaining that there's no boxing.
Mejor llevarlo como siempre en primera fila a Canelo contra Crawford. Hoy vamos a repasar junto a Chava, muchachos, las mejores
Okay, so they're going to talk to Chava Boxing,
las apuestas ahí.
the ESPN guy.
Un invitado súper especial el día de hoy.
Ese estadio.
Special
Crawford pueden llenar un estadio tan grande.
Okay, so now they're talking about whether Canelo and Crawford are going to be able to fill the stadium in which they're fighting. Which it is a stadium, right? It's not just or it's an arena. Is it a stadium or arena? Anyway, it's a big place, so who knows if they're going to be able to fill that up. Especially in Las Vegas. People have been making videos about how Vegas is really dead right now. There's not that much going on. And with the economy, with the ICE rates, tourists don't really feel the need or the disposition to show up to Vegas. Somebody else was posting on Twitter the prices that they've got going on in Vegas. Apparently, they got sensors not only in the refrigerators, but on top too. So they got snacks on top of the refrigerator, and they got sensors. So if you pick up the bag and you leave that snack off the sensor for more than a certain amount of time, you're getting billed for that. Moreover, if you want to store things in the refrigerator, you got to pay $60 for that. There's a charge for that. So it's insane. So I don't know if people are going to be able to or be willing to show up to Vegas, spend a whole lot of money for that event. We shall see. Let's see what these guys are saying.
Creo que es un reto grande, sobre todo para Saúl, ¿no? Que Las Vegas es su casa prácticamente. Acostumbrado a pelear en mayo, acostumbrado a pelear en
All right, so they're saying Canelo is Vegas is his home. He's accustomed to fighting there twice a year almost.
Asegurado para Saúl, pero ahora con un reto distinto, ahora con una promoción también diferente de la mano del Turqui de Dana White.
So he's saying, but now it's a different promotion because he's got the Turkey Al-Sheikh involved, Dana White.
Pero un estadio de fútbol americano grande.
All right, so it is a stadium. It's an NFL stadium, apparently.
Nuevo que han llenado algunos cantantes, inclusive grupos. Creo que me decías el grupo Firme metió bastante.
So some bands, musical acts have managed to fill out the venue.
Pero creo que para Saúl este es el reto, ver si puede llenar.
All right, so they're saying it's going to be a challenge to fill that place up.
En la previa, en los trailers, en la producción, no estuvo tan bueno el undercard que marcó Dana White, pero estoy seguro que
he's complaining about the undercard.
Los veo bien alineados.
So there's Chava.
En el estudio de ESPN. Ya pronto estaremos de vuelta. Es cierto, la nota de la semana fue Jaron Ennis. Un Jaron Ennis que es estupendo peleador. Lo platicábamos ya.
All right, they're going to talk about
de YouTube, pero
sparring session between Canelo and Jaron Ennis.
De las críticas que hubo, ¿no? Dicen que vendió la cultura, que se...
Hey, these dudes addressing the racial aspect. I'm surprised to be seeing this type of conversation on ESPN. I mean, I guess ESPN, the Spanish division, they got the balls to address that. I don't know if ESPN English even addressed the fact that that subculture of boxing, the LDBC to be more precise, actually had to make it racial and started calling Jaron Ennis a sellout and an Uncle Tom and a bunch of other derogatory epithets just because Boots had the temerity to spar a world-class guy. How dare he? You know, Canelo's fighting an Afro-Anglo, and Jaron Ennis, therefore, as an Afro-Anglo, according to these people, shouldn't have fought him. So these people on ESPN are actually addressing that. I'm surprised.
Vendió, discúlpenme, esto es boxeo y de esto se trata el boxeo, de que los mejores también entrenen con los mejores. ¿Por qué? Porque
anyway, so that guy's just saying what I just said.
De manera reciente, es ese tipo de peleador que va a sacar lo mejor de Canelo Álvarez. Y es justo lo que queremos, ver la mejor versión de Canelo Álvarez.
All right, so he's saying Crawford's going to bring out the best of Canelo, and that's what we want to see, he says.
Lo hemos repetido hasta el cansancio, ¿no? El tema de las habilidades quizá pueda sobreponerse al tema de la fortaleza de un Canelo Álvarez que tiene ya 7, 8 años peleando en esta categoría. Será el primer pleito en esta división, en las 168 libras para Terence Crawford, y creo que cada vez se va más al...
All right, so he's saying the challenge for Crawford is going to be the strength factor, the size factor, to see if he can impose or match Canelo's strength.
Hace un poquito más de sentido a lo que está sucediendo, ya se empieza a sentir ese nerviosismo de cara al combate del 13 de septiembre.
So he says now people are starting to feel the hype, people are starting to get nervous a little bit.
Sí, Chava, y yo creo que es interesante lo que hablaba Andrés de que Canelo, que sí es el dueño de Las Vegas en los últimos años, pues ha acostumbrado a llenar una arena del T-Mobile nueva donde se hacen la mayoría de los eventos tanto de boxeo como de la...
All right, so the guy's bringing up the fact that whether Canelo can bring up, whether Canelo and Crawford can fill up the venue.
UFC personas entre un estadio y otro estadio, porque acá es el Allegiant, es la casa de los Raiders del fútbol americano, que precisamente pues en deportes de combate no hemos visto.
All right, so he says that in combat sports we haven't really seen anybody fill this venue yet.
Prácticamente. Yo creo que Crawford...
Man, this guy's asking a long-ass question. I'm fast-forwarding 10 seconds. He's still talking.
Muy poco y lo ha demostrado.
Look at that. Even Chava's shaking his head going, are you going to ask your question, fucker? Or?
No, solamente fuera de Omaha no hemos visto porque no es mediático.
Para bailar se necesita...
y también creo que el nivel de oposición por la diferencia
I think nobody ever asked him a question. They're just talking amongst themselves.
de peso no es tanto. Si asustara un poco más Terence Crawford, porque yo estoy de acuerdo con lo que dice Chava, son habilidades contra poder, pero para el que no conoce tanto de boxeo, dice, le va a ganar Canelo porque es mucho más grande.
Pero Chava, yo le decía...
All right, so the guy on the far left there said that most people are just looking at Canelo and saying, oh, he's going to win because of his power and his size.
Renato, no vende y la pregunta con Crawford, porque si fuera Canelo, lo que pasó en mayo, Canelo es cool, te diría, vende solo Canelo.
No.
La Crawford. So anyway, this dude in the middle is saying that he believes some people could look at the Canelo school fight and say, well, Canelo's the only one that's going to sell this fight. I don't know why he had to reference the school fight. Maybe I fast forwarded too much, but now I think they're going to get into a discussion about who is actually selling this fight. Is it Canelo alone or is Crawford involved or is playing a part in creating the mystique and the allure, and to draw people into this fight.
Pero Crawford tiene nombre, Chava. No podemos subestimar a un rival como
si fuera Canelo Benavides,
The guy in the middle says Crawford also has a big name.
Fuera muy diferente, Chava, si fuera Benavides. Aquí no estuviéramos hablando de boletos, ¿ah?
Claro.
The guy in the far right says if this was Benavides, we wouldn't be talking about ticket sales, meaning that would have been a guaranteed mega event. Payday.
Si fuera Benavides.
Fuera una pelea de mexicanos, pero aquí está involucrando un
Because it would be a Mexican versus Mexican fight.
norteamericano.
O sea,
Este show, si fuera Canelo Benavides, debería ser para subastar boletos. A ver quién paga más por ir a asistir a ese combate que estaba bien calientito.
Claro.
Desafortunadamente,
Los mexicanos,
lo hemos
Chava, los
comentado, Terence
mexicanos.
Crawford
Los mexicanos.
Es tremendo. Terence Crawford es tremendo peleador.
All right, so they're saying that Benavides Canelo would have certainly would have had an easier time selling tickets. I don't know. Has anyone been keeping track of the ticket sales? Is this fight not selling well? 2 weeks away from the fight, or less than 2 weeks now. Let me know in the chat, please.
Es tremendo peleador, el más completo que hay hoy en la actualidad. Pero su poder de convocatoria, su poder de venta.
Oh, we got Sobers jumping in. I didn't hear any. What do they call it? A ping or anything?
Walked in here.
What's up, Sobers? Hey, let me ask you, Sobers. Have you heard anything about this fight selling or how it's selling?
I was just looking that up when you brought it up.
All right, let me keep hearing what these guys are saying.
Hasta ahora, pues no nos ha demostrado que sea esa gran
Pero
estrella,
no
¿no? Y
digamos que
precisamente
Canelo
por eso
vende
también
solo
hemos
la
mencionado
cartelera.
pero tampoco.
que hoy
All right, the guy in the middle is the guy in the middle, in the upper middle. He's saying that Canelo is not the only one selling, but at the same time, Crawford. I mean, look, the 2 times he was on pay-per-view prior to the Spence fight, he did horrible numbers. Horrible. Now, of course, you got to be fair. Amir Khan and Victor Postol aren't exactly people that the American public knows, but still, the numbers are what they are. Horrible numbers. He did sell well whenever he would fight in Omaha, and I think the Sean Porter fight in Vegas, it looked like he had a decent crowd. But then again, that's another pay-per-view that didn't really sell well. And even the Spence fight, people kept saying, oh, he did, how much did they say he did? 700,000 pay-per-views or something? I think it did more like 500,000 according to Rick Glazier. And I do believe those numbers from Glazier because that was a pay-per-view via cable model. It wasn't the zone pay-per-view or anything, which I don't think Glazier is privy to those numbers. So even then, Crawford, when he fought Madrimov, again, pay-per-views, horrible pay-per-view sales, and despite a tremendous undercard, they couldn't even fill the place up over there in California. So, I mean, of course, he's go ahead, yeah.
I was going to say, it looks like there's plenty of seats left, right?
Mm-hmm.
But their ranges and prices go from like 400 on the low end to 13,000 on the high end.
Jeez Louise, 13,000. Well, you know what? Interestingly enough, I was going to say that this card that's taking place on Thursday between Iglesias and Shishkin, it's at, like I said, the Montreal Casino. I was looking up the ticket prices 2 weeks ago. Exorbitant prices for a fight of that magnitude. And it's a good fight, don't get me wrong. I would have liked to have gone and seen it. But one thing you got to take into consideration before purchasing tickets for that fight is these Canadian cards, for the most part, they like to pad their undercards with prospects against no-hopers. People complain that Golden Boy does that. Believe me, you watch these Canadian cards here in Montreal, they're worse. And look, I try to support Canadian boxing as much as I can. I've done it in the past when a lot of these fights, like Beterbiev fights, for example, a lot of the Beterbiev fights that you would see for free in the United States were actually pay-per-view here. So I've paid full price and oftentimes half price because, I'm Mr. BDA. But I've supported Canadian boxing. But this Iglesias Shishkin card, horrible prices for a fight of this magnitude, just way too high. And on top of that, the Casino of Montreal, I don't know if people have ever seen the layout. If you're sitting in front row, you actually get a table. You're not they got tables set up so you can eat and everything. And I'm thinking, who wants to eat that close to the ring? So you can have your nice filet of fish or whatever they serve. I don't know what they serve, covered in sweat, snot, blood, and what, God knows what else. It's insane that people want to eat. I've seen it for decades now here in Montreal. I don't know how people do it. They must like it on some level. And I do believe that they're perverse, degenerates, and I don't like them. How about that? Let's keep hearing what these people have to say. They're actually quite debating about who's selling this fight.
Hoy
O sea,
es
no,
la
digamos,
gran
es una
oportunidad de
locura.
Crawford de consagrarse como estrella a los 37 años ante la cara
A
del
ver,
boxeo, en lo que esperamos sea un
¿cuántas
estadio lleno.
veces-
All right, so the Chava, the guy on the bottom, he's saying that this is up to Crawford too now at 36 years old, or 37. I think he made a mistake. 37 years old, after everything he's done, to prove whether he can help sell this fight. Which, of course, he's selling this fight somehow. I mean, the whole allure, like I said, about this fight is the pound-for-pound stalwart coming up in weight and seeing if he can use his pound-for-pound skills to defeat Canelo. So, yeah, he's playing a part in this.
Porque queremos ver lleno ese estadio.
¿Cuántas veces Crawford ha ido a una cartelera pay-per-view siendo él el lado A?
Pero ¿cómo que el lado hay contra Spence? ¿A ti no te gustó entonces?
So the guy on the right said, how many times has Crawford going to a pay-per-view fight being the A side? And then the guy in the middle appears to disagree with the assertion that the other guy's making.
Y no vendió contra Spence.
Okay, so he's saying that, well, he fought Spence and that didn't sell well either. Or all that well.
Fue Spence el que vendió.
¿Sabe
pero, a
cuál
ver.
es el problema con Crawford también? Es que
Hay,
Crawford-
hay un silencio, ¿verdad? Hay un silencio.
No, pero no hace el trabajo abajo del ring. Porque tiene el estilo, le va a pelear a Canelo con el estilo que le peleó Mayweather a Canelo. Pero
All right. So the guy on the left is saying Crawford's problem is not inside the ring because inside the ring he's going to fight Canelo the way Mayweather fought Canelo. Which is, I mean, I wouldn't expect ESPN guys to be saying this, especially since these guys apparently they're focused solely on boxing. But to bring up these tired tropes of he's going to Mayweather Canelo...
Mayweather abajo del ring te hacía el trabajo. Hacía todas las entrevistas, vendía como el malo de la película. Crawford no hace nada. Nosotros lo fuimos a entrevistar para sacarle dos palabras, Renan.
Nosotros lo hemos
Me
visto
costó
en
muchísimo.
varias cosas.
All right, so he's saying Crawford's problem outside the ring is he doesn't have much to say. He says, you know, to try to get 2 words out of him, it costs us a lot of work. And that's true. Crawford is not a particularly endearing person to the media. I remember Steve Kim used to say that this guy had an antagonistic relationship with the media. And probably explains why he was never really that big a name coming up. People like to blame wholly the PBC. Oh, they shun him out, and it's because of that he was never a big name. But he never really seemed interested in being a big name, as it pertains to actually doing the work outside the ring and being a you know. Listen, I get it. Not everybody can be Conor McGregor out there, nor should they try to be, because. All right, I think we should be back now. Should be. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I do apologize for that. The internet we hadn't been encountering this type of issues in a while, but it just had to happen this time. It's been happening for the last couple of days. Got to check into why. But shout out to everybody out there. Sobers, what do you think about that? Crawford, again, getting into scuffles and certain issues with rim shop and garage people. Getting shot in the head prior to that. It seems like he's not exactly the most endearing personality out there, is he?
No. I mean, he's kind of like a. I mean, a lot of people like him, right? I guess, but his personality is kind of a like quiet. He's kind of a quiet person, whatever. So people don't really notice those kind of things that he does. Maybe if he had a louder personality, like Devin Haney or say Shakur Stevenson. Well, not so much Devin Haney, right? Like, because that's his dad is more the personality there, right?
Exactly.
But say like he had a louder voice around him, you know what I mean? Then people would be more magnified to their actions. But you know, like I said, he's pretty quiet dude. He doesn't look like he bothers anybody. So that's kind of how people just take him.
Well, let me ask you this though: as it pertains to Terence Crawford, how much of that him being sort of like
honestly,
yeah.
Look. BDA, actually, now that you asked me, I bet you those stories kind of endear people to him. You know what I'm saying? So, for example, so you got Terence Crawford with Turkey, right? And this is how the conversation would go. Brother, now that we are lying in bed naked together as brothers,
come on.
Tell me, is it true they shot you in the face with a Glock? Oh man, you're a real American gangster from Nebraska. Right?
You think that's how it goes, man? You think that's the conversation
Yes.
that we're having?
Now come here, kiss me. That's
Nah,
how-
come on. All right. Well, you listen. Too early in the morning, man. It's too early in the morning. Why are you bringing out this? Come on, man. This is apparently, according to sources, this is what happens behind closed doors between Crawford and Turkey Al Sheikh.
You're mine now.
I introduced him to all my friends as
You're my
the
possession.
porta potty.
Go!
I mean, come on. We don't want to talk about this stuff now. It's too early in the morning. Now, I wanted to say this, though. I think also what ended up happening was that Crawford, by virtue of the fact that he was opposite the PBC, he was the main, what's the word here, the protagonist against the PBC, which a lot of people disliked. All of a sudden, Crawford's the guy that, oh, hey, he's against the PBC, therefore he's the good guy. I think that's all, a lot of that had to play the part in Crawford sort of being a hard course favorite. What?
You said play the what?
He was the protagonist.
Oh,
The hell did you think I said?
I thought you said something else.
Oh boy, no, listen, Sobers, I don't know what's up with you this morning, but I don't like it.
That's BDA. I think it's trying to call you out and fucking put you on the spot.
All right, come on, what's going on here?
I think they get a little too big for your bridges. They're Sobers.
What did he say? I can't hear Gonzalo too well.
I think you're getting a little too big for your bridges. They're Sobers.
Oh yeah, he's getting too big for his
He thinks
britches.
I'm bucking up to the big dog.
Exactly. It's early in the morning here. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Don't forget to like. The Bud Crawford era and Anthony Robertson are saying racist. It's interesting. Whenever people accuse us of being racist, they never say against whom. Which race are we? Your race, is that you feel targeted? Is that what's going on? You feel victimized? They never actually tell you race against which. We're supposed to guess which race we're against, apparently. So these people are not too smart. Let me tell you, not too smart. And when I say these people, I am talking about what?
No, sorry, but I'm just saying, how's my Wi-Fi coming in? I know you're going off of what the people are saying, but you said it about 3 weeks ago, I believe, that this fight is actually like simmering to the point. There is kind of like, it's a very interesting fight. So there's nothing lackluster to be not said. It's a very important fight, and it makes a lot of sense. Canelo took it. He's not going to go in there. I'm going to take this guy because he's the one that has a lot to lose. And in the sense to like what the comment that you just made, this is the Crawford era. Well, if you're saying this is the Canelo era or like the anywhere from the top 5, not even the top 10, the top five pound for pound fighters of this era within the last 10 years, you could put Canelo and Crawford. But if we're talking pound for pound, we're talking about the bigger guy and Canelo losing to the smaller guy. Of course, this is going to be Crawford era. So you have two fighters in the crossroads. If Crawford beats Canelo, yes, all of a sudden he he overshadows what Canelo's done in his career because the smaller guy beat the bigger guy. So that's why all these fans are rallying up against and making it about a racing, because if Crawford beats Canelo, it's Mayweather 2.0. He not only didn't beat him when he was green, he beat him to the tail end of his prime, to where when Crawford's older and he beat a Canelo that's younger, but still within the top 5 pound for pound, and Crawford wins, being the lighter guy, all of a sudden they're proving that the American back foot. I'm not saying that Crawford's back foot, but you know what I mean. That they're trying to prove that they're.
No, I get what you're saying.
But you know what I mean. That's why it's so important. And Bradley's going on a tailspin, talking all that shit.
Listen, let's get into the size thing, because that's been a large point of contention leading up to this fight. Now some people are saying that, people have been saying it in the last couple of weeks now. They're starting to change their tune and say, well, Crawford's not really that small compared to Canelo. Other people are saying, yeah, he's going to be the smaller guy. Listen, he's 5'9", same height as Canelo, and apparently he walks around 170-something pounds. We've been saying that for weeks now, or even longer than that. So let's get into the title of this show right off the bat. Terence Crawford and Bomac recently made certain statements that are quite curious to those of us who have doubted whether Crawford really is the smaller guy coming into this fight. So let's play this. I think it was Fresh Prince. Shout out to Fresh Prince in the Discord who put this clip together here. Shout out to him for finding it. Hold on, that's not it.
Fresh Prince has given me information before. He's a true.
Sorry. First of all, I gotta share the screen with you here, fellas.
Yeah, you should.
I'm gonna put it in. Hold on.
Yeah.
All right. I think you guys should be seeing the screen now. All right. So what we've got here is Terence Crawford and Bomac coming out and making some interesting statements as it pertains to the weight. Let's see what Bomac had to say in Ring Magazine. It's not. Hold on a second. Give me 2 seconds here. This thing doesn't want to open up.
How was it seeing him through the process?
What was that?
I was just reading what his name is, Dr. Mofongo. That's a cool name, bro.
Yeah, that's a pretty good name, Dr. Mofongo.
How was it seeing him through the process, man, of his body transformation, instead of cutting down to 47 or 54, to just be coming down to 68, which seems more of his natural weight?
Man, listen, let me tell you, man. He should have been at 68 long time ago.
Is this supposed to be a vibe right here?
Is this supposed to be a what?
A vibe?
What do you mean?
Like the haircut interview? Like, what is this supposed to be like personal or something?
Must be.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
After the video's done, dude, like BD, I want to see something after this is done.
All right, but hold on. But we
I didn't mean to interrupt, but I'm like, what the fuck?
Everyone's got a lot to say though. But let's listen to what he has to say.
Tell you, man.
Yeah, my bad.
He should have been at 68 long time ago, but you know, myself just make him take advantage.
All right. What? First of all, what is it with the Crawford team and talking, speaking properly? Crawford, and then this dude taking like 15-second pauses between every little word. Let's again. They asked him about the weight. All right.
Language.
Come on, come on, Fu. By the way, you sound very low, man. Fu, you sound very low. I think you got your settings.
What the hell?
You got your different settings. A little bit. You sound a little bit low compared to everybody else. Let me play this again. They're asking Bomac about the weight, right? Or supposedly the supposed weight difference between Canelo and Crawford.
54 to just be coming down to 68, which seems more of his natural weight.
Man, listen, let me tell you, man. He should have been at 68 long time ago, but you know, myself just make him take advantage of 35, 40, 47.
So there you heard it. They're asking him about the move to 168 from 154, and after having spent so much time at 147, and Bomac says Crawford should have been at 168 a long time ago, but that they wanted to take advantage of that in the 147-pound division. Guys, is he saying this just to play up the act and try to seem confident that, hey, we're actually Canelo's same size? Or is there a certain degree of truth to that he was always a 170-pound guy boiling himself down to 147 pounds?
Yeah, it's true because their career started only I don't know, like one division apart. Canelo chose to move up since before. Well, he got more rounds at the bank because he won like 15, 16, 17 down in Mexico. But when he came to the United States, Crawford also put in some rounds, and he started his career, I believe, at 140. 135. I mean. And Canelo started at 140. So in the end of the grand scheme of things, Crawford is older. He is 38 while Canelo's 35. And Canelo, hey, mind you, he likes to take the time off. So, you know, he could have made, he's always a strong guy, dude. Like there's only like a 5-6 pound difference between the two guys. Yep. To be honest, dude.
Well, Bomac has admitted that Canelo's not beating a guy who's smaller, right? This guy, like he said, he could have gone up to 168 a long time ago. So there you go. So
yeah, I mean,
if Canelo beats this guy, he gets full credit.
Look. I think part of his bravado, right? Because he's trying to talk up his dude. Because realistically, I don't think Crawford would make it at a 154 alive. So you know what I mean? It's not like that. He's not naturally around that weight. He is, but I don't think his skills are sufficient enough to hang like Canelo's. And that's what I think the big gap in this fight is. I think I've been saying this shit since before the fight was announced. No, since it was announced, there will not be 10 pounds between them on fight night. You guys understand what I'm saying? There will not be 10 pounds between them on fight night.
It's not about
the
size.
difference is going to be the skill. Yeah,
it's skill.
It's not about size. Yeah, just like when everyone, and I've been talking to people about this since yesterday, and they've been bringing up the Bivol loss to Canelo, right? They've been saying, oh, Crawford and Bivol, you know, they just have to do the same things or whatever. Or if Canelo couldn't do this to Bivol, how's he gonna do it to Crawford, right? And And I'm going to say the same thing, right? When people say that Canelo lost to Bebo, it wasn't a size thing, right? It was a skill thing. So when Canelo beats the shit out of Crawford, it's going to be a skill thing. It's not going to be a size thing. Okay.
Yep,
So that's clear.
that's a good point. Now, Brown Diamond in the chat says Crawford's never been a weight bully. All fighters cut weight and target divisions to build legacy, dummy. Do all guys cut 30 pounds? I don't think. I mean, I've been watching boxing for a long time.
They don't. That's a lot of weight. That's a lot of
and I know,
weight.
with Crawford, the thing is this: people say, "Well, he used to be a wrestler. Wrestlers are notorious for cutting weight." Yeah, wrestlers, and in deep into their 30s, that's not normal. It's interesting that it's all these dudes who are with Snack that can cut a lot of weight. Haney, Bam too. I think Bam's been accused of that, but very few people want to talk about it. Then you got Crawford. Oh, it seems like that Snack. And by the way, Victor Conte said when it pertained to Billy Joe Saunders cutting, he said Billy Joe Saunders cuts 30 pounds to make weight. You can't do that without PEDs, he said. And then you got his guy, as he refers to him, my guy, Devin Haney. That's what he does. He goes from 135 to 165, or what was it, 163? So very, very interesting right there. But anyway, that's what Bomac said, that Crawford should have been a 168 a long time ago. We just heard it straight from the horse's mouth. And now let's see what Terence Crawford has to say about that. Because like I said, Terence Crawford said he wasn't going to be talking to the media anymore. Now all of a sudden, he had to address the Jerome Boutsenis Canelo sparring session, blah, blah, blah. Listen to what he had to say about the weight issue.
You put on a lot of weight or muscle? Like, how is it in that department? Because I know a lot of people have said, like, hey, you're fighting a big guy, 168, who's used to fighting guys that are bigger than him. It might be smart to put on a little bit more, like, mass.
It comes natural with working out.
Yeah.
You know, like I said before, the only thing about this camp different than any other camp is I don't got to cut muscle. I don't got to, watch.
I don't got to cut muscle, he said. So if he doesn't, he's not boxing, he's actually adding muscle, not fat, not water weight, muscle. And I remember Dr. 805 called in after the Madrimov fight, and he was saying that Crawford is, I forget exactly the details, he was getting very technical about it, but he said that, yeah, Crawford is, when people say he's a genetic freak, blah, 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 they're not kidding around. The dude manages to do that, and especially with, certain help as well, he can add that weight and take it off, and he's been managed to do that longer than most people. I think that's what he said, I think. So, again, we got Bomac saying Crawford should have been at 168 a long time ago. And now we got Crawford saying, it's not that bad. Now it's actually going to be easier because I don't got to cut muscle. And, against Errol Spence, it wasn't that bad because Errol Spence too used to blow up in weight. But it seems as if Crawford was cutting muscle, whereas Spence was cutting fat. So here's what we've got so far. Some of us have wondered about Crawford really, whether he really is a smaller guy going into the Canelo fight. And some people are saying, oh, but hold on, just because he's taller or slightly taller doesn't mean he's the same height as Canelo, doesn't mean that they're same weight. And it's true. If you just say this guy's taller, therefore he's bigger, that's a fallacy right there. But what I'm saying is, and I think some of you guys on the panel agree with me, is that the size disparity will not be as big as people are making it out to be. Now, what evidence do we have to say in regards to that? Well, we just heard Bomac say Crawford should have been a 168 a long time ago. Crawford is saying it's going to be good for him to be fighting a 168 because he's not going to have to cut muscle anymore. And we also have evidence of Crawford as far back as 2018 when he just arrived at the division and was about to fight Jeff Horn. He said, he posted this on social media. Shit, where is it? Hold on. Well, I had the picture here somewhere. It's a video actually. Him weighing 170-something pounds when he had just gone to welterweight. And then, of course, recently he posted this picture here of his scale, and it says he weighs 186 pounds. So now, this was months ago.
That's from months ago, BDA.
Yeah, that's from months ago. But what I'm saying is there's a precedent to him weighing a lot. So for people that say, it's not going to be the same thing, they're not going to be around the same weight, we just had verbal statements from Crawford and Bomac saying that, that the weight is not an issue and that Crawford should have been a 168 a long time ago. And we got photos from Crawford himself. Because when these photos first came out in 2018, that he was weighing 170 plus pounds, I said, maybe he's doing that to psych his opponents out. Like, I'm so big and I'm cutting weight to 147 and I can still fight well. I thought that was BS. Now, though, I'm starting to see. Oh, and then on top of that, he weighed in more than Madrimov on fight night. Now, of course, it was just 1 pound, but all this evidence is starting to accumulate that no, Terence Crawford is not. If he's the smaller guy compared to Canelo on fight night, like Sober said, it's not gonna be by that much. Fellas, what do you think about all of this?
I think that if you don't kill him, it don't count.
Okay, that makes no sense, man. Oh, food disappeared. Huh. Food TV.
No, but yeah, I don't think the weight thing. I mean, all these boxers always cut weight, right? But some guys can cut an extreme amount of weight more than others, and he's one of the guys that falls in these categories. And it's not natural. You can't do it naturally. So, I mean, whether you want to call him out for being a weight bully or not, you know, whatever. I don't think he could really. I do think he's naturally around that weight that Canelo's at, 168, around there. But like I said, I don't think he's good enough to compete at that weight class because there's other guys who are bigger than him cutting weight down. Like, you know what I'm saying? Cutting 20 pounds of weight to be bigger. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a cycle, right? And like a trickle down effect. Everyone's cutting weight except the heavyweights. So, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think it's gonna matter on fight night, bro.
Right, and let's keep in mind here, Crawford, like I said, he weighed in more than Madrimov on fight night. And again, it was 1 pound.
He's never been, that's just little thing right there. He's never been lighter than any of his opponents. He's always been the bigger, heavier dude with a longer reach over everybody. Except,
because
you know, maybe Posto.
They keep saying, and I'm listening to all these podcasts, and even podcasts that I've never heard about, but I see they're talking about Canelo Crawford, so I started listening to what they say. There was these dudes going, you know, Canelo, he ain't never beat the best guy in his division. He ain't never beat the best guy in this division. Crawford, in his division, he been stopping everybody. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. So they're saying that Canelo only has punching power, but in a lot of ways, what Crawford managed to accomplish at 147 was because of his punching power as well. He was having a very tough fight against Benavidez before he took him out. In that Kell Brook fight, even though it only went about 3.5 rounds, he was losing the jabbing contest in that fight. Sean Porter, his own corner, told him, hey, we think you were behind on the cards. You got to go get a knockout. So it's not like he's dominating his opposition. Canelo, on the other hand, see, it's almost as if things are backwards. The narrative should be backwards. People say, oh, Crawford's a more skilled guy, whereas Canelo only wins because of power. But Canelo's been dominating people by going the decision. That's what they criticize him for. They criticize him for not being able to stop guys. He's dominating his opposition throughout 12 rounds, whereas Crawford, he's at welterweight, where that was his mainly he built the bulk of his career there. A lot of times he built himself out with his power, and not necessarily because he was so good and skilled and outpointing these guys. So it seems like people got it backwards coming into this fight. What do you guys think about that?
Yep. Well, I feel like I've been saying this, dude, consistently. They give Canelo's attributes to Crawford. They switch around their personalities. They act like Crawford's fighting dudes that are 6 feet tall, 200 pounds, you know, and beating them up and having them, you know, play the back foot game with him when he's really the bigger guy in there, and he's beating guys, you know, close to his size and that he's a little bit bigger than, and they're acting like, whoa, this guy's just climbing weight class after weight class. Oh, he's this killer, you know what I'm saying? And he even when he gets to super middleweight, he still has to have the height advantage and the length advantage. We'll see how much he weighs on fight night, right? Because he's never been outweighed by any of his opponents. So yeah, and another little thing about that, why do I want to bring this shit up? Okay, another thing they try to bring up about, say, Canelo's slowing down, he's getting old. He's 34, Bud's 37, he's gonna be like 38 on fight night. Right, and I'm telling you, no one's gonna remember this until after he gets his ass whooped. They're gonna be like, "Damn, I didn't know he was almost 40." And you know what they're gonna say, BDA? that they're gonna say that Canelo waited to fight Triple G when he was 35, and he waited to fight Bud when he was 38 because that's how much more scared he was, or that's how much better he is, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And another thing on top of that, I wanted to add to that shit. Like I said, the diminishing skill that they keep saying that's coming from Canelo. In Bud's last 2 fights, when he fought Evanesian, his connect percentage was 13%. Okay, and you seen how Evanesian was coming in that fight with just that high guard, kind of just walking towards Crawford. He couldn't break that high guard, right? He bailed himself out with a knockout. When he fought Madrimov, he was landing at 22%. Okay, and Madrimov was, you know, doing a lot of feints in that twitchy style with the upper waist movement. Canelo's better than both these dudes combined, right? He has a better high guard than Evanesian, and I think his waist movement is not as jittery, but it's more intelligent than Madrimav's. So I just, like they act like Crawford is this guy, this defensive master. He's really not. Canelo is. You know what I'm saying? And we'll see who's the counter puncher on fight night.
It will certainly be an interesting one for sure. Very excited for this fight. It's a very exciting proposition, let me tell you. Fellas, don't forget to hit the like. Really helps us out. Hold on a second. Yeah, don't forget to hit the like. I'm thinking of opening up the phone lines just to see if anybody wants to call in here. I see there's some people disagreeing with each other in the chat. Always good. Disagreement always makes for a good show. Now, speaking of that, Crawford, again, so you heard it from the horse's mouth. Bomac saying Crawford should have been a 168 a long time ago. That's something that some of us have been, asking about for years now. Also, one of the things we've been saying for years, but people didn't want to believe it for some reason, was that Jaron Ennis looks like a super middleweight as well. And these pictures that came out of the Canelo's camp as Boots Ennis spars with Canelo show that. Here's another picture. This from William Boxing posted this. He posted this yesterday, or on Saturday, excuse me. I think Canelo and Boots are still sparring. So when this photo came out, or these photos came out, a lot of people lost their minds. Even Bradman Edwards. I don't know why people are so invested in a sparring session, but Bradman Edwards said, the trainer, he really thinks highly of Crawford. Butcher used a clip of Bradman Edwards where they asked him about Crawford, Canelo, and he said, I'm still pricking Crawford. I've been Team Crawford all the way. And then they asked him, what makes Crawford so good? And Edwards goes, oh man, where do I begin? How much? I don't think you got enough time in the interview. Just, the dexterity, the agility. Like he doesn't just say skills and agility or whatever. He starts going into dexterity, the fast processing. He can adjust to virtually everything. And I'm thinking, how come he couldn't really adjust to Madrimov? He couldn't stop that right hand from landing.
Remember when I said I wanted to say something? Sorry, remember when I told you that when I say something?
No,
that's what I wanted to mention, dude. Like what Bradman Edwards said, that was so off kilter for a guy that has like supposedly like a lot of respect, boxing mind because he's a trainer, whatnot. He's like he's got his P's and Q's sort of together, and he's pretty good. Like that was like so fucking like so far fetched.
Mm-hmm.
Like give me my time in this interview. We couldn't have enough time. That was just so fucking weird.
Yeah, Gonzalo, he was laying it on a little bit too thick. A little bit. He could have just said.
I wanted to say something about 20 minutes ago.
No, I don't remember that, Gonzalo.
That's what I wanted to say.
All right. Well, that's
I told you I need to mention something. I wanted to talk about that, but anyways, you already touched upon it.
No, I mean, it's a good observation. And let me tell you something. This photo came out, so it just proves Jaron Ennis. I don't know how he was making the welterweight limit. But it's also interesting that after this photo came out, for some reason, people started panicking. And Bradman said that he talked to an insider. He wasn't going to name the guy, but he said he's an insider. That's all you need to know. He's very knowledgeable about boxing. He says, even this dude told me that he changed his mind from Crawford to Canelo. He changed his pick, in other words, after he saw this photo of Canelo and his sparring. I'm thinking, because of a sparring session? Like, what? I don't get it, man. So anyway, because of that, a lot of people followed the same line of thinking. They started panicking. A lot of people who were supporting Crawford started panicking. So they had to come up with something to assuage their fears, to decrease their fears. So now they came up with an alleged rumor that Boots Ennis was whooping Canelo and that Canelo had to send him packing because he just couldn't handle Ennis in sparring. But here we see pictures. They're wearing different shirts, different clothing, so it's from different days. So if he did indeed send Jaron Ennis packing, it must have been after at least 2 days of sparring. So whether Canelo got whooped days in a row, he still managed to spar. He was still willing to spar Jaron Ennis back to back. So I don't know where people are getting this from. It's really interesting.
Can I mention something, BDA? I know sparring is hard, and you're gonna send your sparring partners packing. A lot of times, they come in there, you want to beat them up, then you want to get a replacement. Mm-hmm. But Jaron Ennis is not a small guy. Sorry for cutting you off, but I didn't mean to. What I'm trying to say is dude, the guy's tall, he's long rangey, he emulates Crawford. He's at a fight in the lower weight, so he probably got quicker hands than Canelo because Okay, he's probably walking around the same weight in camp right now because he's not actively fighting. But what I'm saying, he's used to fighting at a lower weight at 150, 147. Now he just barely moved up to 154. So obviously, Duran Ennis got quick hands. And when you got the bigger gloves and you're going in there to practice, kind of like just throw hands, obviously the guy's talented. Is you don't want to put a beating on Duran. You want to fucking learn a little bit of how the other guy's going to move. The guy that's going to emulate Terrence Crawford's style. I'm not saying that's going to be carbon copy. But I'm basically saying the guy that got the quicker hands is going to throw the more punches, and Canelo's going to try to study and learn and pick that guy off. So obviously he's going to catch a lot of shots because in practice, he's going to try to see what the other guy does, catch and find and read the timing. So if he got caught by a guy that's taller, longer, yet lighter, and it's got the quicker hands, and most likely he's throwing more punches off the fly, I wouldn't be surprised if he is getting beat up in sparring because Canelo's holding back. He's trying to understand and read the fighting style and play the numbers in his mind. He's not trying to go all out because when you go all out, it means that you already know. You're barely trying to figure out the steps. You know what I mean? That's why they brought him in for.
I mean, you're talking about he's working on defense. If that's even true that he's getting beat up, what do people talk about or mean when they say beat?
I mean, you're kind of reading. You're
why do
kind
people
yes.
you're basing this off on a rumor that somebody came up with? Sources say, which sources? Is there anybody else corroborating this? It's insane what people take on Twitter and just run with it. A lot of people out there just parrot what they hear, man. But I understand your point is well taken, Gonzalo. That the dude Canelo's deep into camp right now. He's not gonna be trying to beat Boots up. He's trying to adjust to the speed, like you said. So maybe Boots Ennis it looked like he got the best of him, according to some of the witnesses, because Canelo's working on defense. But again, where are these rumors? Why do people take these rumors seriously? That Duran Ennis, the guy that was getting teed off on by the Karen, all of a sudden Canelo can't touch the dude. People are insane. I'm telling you, people are insane out there. They'll believe anything. It's interesting.
It was one picture. It was one picture, BDA, of like Duran Ennis standing like his back tall, and Canelo in a crouch with his hands up, and there people were saying, "I just can tell by this picture, Duran was whooping his ass." I'm like, what the fuck?
I mean, he's probably whooping his ass.
That's like what people were saying.
You're probably wearing 14 or 16 ounce gloves, so it's not going to be that impactful. And the guy that got the range, and when you're Canelo, and I guess, okay, I would say that the guy that got the range is probably throwing a lot of hands because he knows Canelo's dangerous, and he's in there to get some work, to provide work for Canelo. He's throwing a lot of punches, but what Canelo's trying to read, the distance, the space, the timing and the space. So when Duran is throwing, and mind you, he hits hard. Crawford also hits hard. But when he's trying to read the distance and the timing and the space, that's when Canelo's trying to land his big shot, to get that perfect shot that he landed against Berlanga, that he landed against Munguia. That's the distance he's trying to set in, because he's trying to work on that to land that perfect shot that's going to destabilize the smaller foe and hurt the Crawford in a real-time fight with 8 ounce gloves, not with the 14s. Or the 16th.
Well, listen, I mean, at this point, Crawford said he wasn't going to speak to the media anymore. This sparring session compelled him to come out of hiding, or the proverbial blackout, and had to address the Boots Canelo sparring situation. Bomac now making statements as well. They're trying to come up with these rumors that Canelo got beat up in sparring. Canelo, meanwhile, I haven't really heard anything from him. We haven't really heard much from his camp. It's almost like they're just secluded and working on what they got to work on. So the ones that are doing and then you got Bernie, the boxer, who's part of Crawford's entourage, talking about Boots staying off code and how they're going to beat 2 guys up in one night. I don't understand. If they beat Canelo, how is that beating Duran Ennis? I didn't really get that one. So they're doing a whole lot of talking, whereas the Canelo camp is silent. So it's a tale of 2 different approaches. That's for sure.
All I'm saying, Mr. BDA and Sobers, if you're going in there thinking that you're just going to go in there and rough up a world-class opponent, that's 154, and mind you, he got quick hands, then you're not actually gaining anything from his style. So basically what you want to do, you want to read in between what he's doing. So if you have to catch some shots to learn, Because if you go in there knowing, oh, I'm just gonna go in there and pounce beat them up, that means I'm not willing to learn anything. You have to sit in the pocket and dial things down and get a feeling of what's the atmosphere that's going to be in the fight, because that's what you want to learn, that what's going to be the real atmosphere. And if you have to catch some shots in sparring with the bigger gloves, with the guy that throws quicker punches, and you want to read the timing in between, this is the perfect time. So if you have to catch a punch to learn the details in between of what you need to do to close the gap, mind you, that's how you're going to learn. You're not going to go in there learning, oh, I know how to beat you up. Let me fucking put hands on you. Blah, 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 go home. That's not it. You got to learn the timing, the distance, the space between. So how do you do that? You gotta keep your eyes open and willing to learn and listen and get your emotions out of the way. You're there to learn, always learning.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that's, I've often said it too, though. This sparring and wearing the headgear and the 69 gloves, it can give inexperienced guys a false sense of confidence. I've seen it before. How many times have we heard people say, oh, we got the headgear on to protect fighters? Yeah, it protects them from cuts. It doesn't protect them from brain damage. A lot of these dudes in sparring, I've seen it, they get tired and then they just put the earmuffs up and they fight uncharacteristically aggressive in an aggressive fashion. And I'm thinking, look, 16-ounce gloves, they're like pillows. Once you get in a professional ring, it's much different. They're wearing 10-ounce gloves, and these guys are going to be wearing 10-ounce gloves because they're above 154, or 147.
And of course,
it's night and day.
And you're not catching the L in sparring. You're not catching the L. So what's the point in trying to beat a guy up in sparring? You're trying to learn in the sparring.
Yeah, I got that. All I was pointing out was you made a good point about the glove thing, and I just swerve into a different direction there, thinking about how some people get overconfident with the big gloves. In fact, again, if you're gonna spar and wear headgear because you have to as a professional to prevent cuts, but the bar, the headgear with the bar, I don't know how they do it, man. I've tried that, and I can't see properly with the bar. And then on top of that, if they just touch the bar slightly, it does shake up your head slightly just by touching the bar. So the bar obviously is there to protect against nose injuries because, these dudes are cracking when they're sparring. So that can injure the nose and, cancel a fight. Gonzalo, you keep cutting in and out, man, while I'm talking.
Well, sorry. And cuts as well. Cuts. The bar protects you against cuts.
Which is always... that's
because oftentimes you're wearing a 14... No, and Mr. BD, I wanted to say something else also. Sorry for cutting that. I think my Wi-Fi is good. Okay, I'm just going to look at a rambunctious. I'm getting a little rambunctious. No, because Canelo got a chin. So when people are saying, oh, he's getting beat up, Canelo got a chin and he got good waist movement. He's trying to do work. He's working in there. Anyways. Go ahead, Mr. BD.
Yeah, so it's the fight's coming up. Listen, it's September the 1st today. September the 1st, less than 2 weeks away from this fight. Now, the interesting thing is, like I said, people are overlooking the MJ versus Inoue fight. That's another big fight that's going to be coming up, and that's the day after Canelo Crawford. So we're getting two big fights in a row. That we're getting spoiled. But we should be, because this last month of August, it was kind of subpar. Actually, let's call it what it was. It was subpar, just based on activity alone. There weren't that many big fights or any type of really fights going on. So we deserve two big fights in a row, day to day, of course.
Will this be the second time that Canelo's followed? That Inoue's followed Canelo in an event?
I think so. Yeah. And on top, but it's also the second time that Crawford and Inoue have fought in the same week. Remember, in 2023, they fought a couple of days apart.
Okay, I don't know that.
I mean, that's a good point, but it's kind of half and half because usually the monsters fighting on Christmas Eve. But I think he's done it before. He's usually fighting on Christmas Eve or in Japan.
Well, listen,
but now he's trying to go up. Yes.
This fight, like I said, it's really lighting people up. It's electric. I see there's a lot of people disagreeing with each other in the chat, so I'm going to open up the phone lines in case people want to call in. That way, people can make their points in more succinct. People can make their points in more succinct fashion by actually calling in and not just typing away. So make sure to call in. The phone number is right there in the left-hand middle portion of your screen. If you have a lot to say, make sure to call in. There's the phone number right there in the marquee. See that? Big time, big time. So why don't you guys should be big time too and call in.
And you know, I'm Gonzalo, but I have a twin brother whose name is Jose, and I can't count him out because Jose is saying Crawford's going to beat Canelo. But you know what? Crawford, correction, my brother Jose, oftenly, like before he spoke well about Canelo. He said Canelo beat Triple G, and I mentioned it to you before in the second fight. Well, I always thought fucking Triple G beat him. Then I rewatched it for like the fucking 20th time. I'm not lying. And you know what? Canelo beat Triple G the second fight, dude. I'm convinced of that. And Jose is not really like a dick rider as a lot of people think. And I know that Mexicans are fucking upset about that. But he's my twin brother. And you know what? He's not a fucking fanboy. We grew up together. He's not a fanboy. He honestly thinks in his fucking mind that fucking Crawford's going to win. And I don't discount that.
Well, listen,
I don't know why, Mr. BD.
It's
you know my predictions. Speak about my track record. You know my predictions, and not so far fetched, man.
Well, your track record lately hasn't been all that hot, though, Gonzalo. You started taking a lot of risks. You made a lot of risky, like I call the gimmick picks. You made a lot of gimmick picks.
It was a couple gimmick picks. It was a couple gimme picks, and when I did them, you knew that I was doing it. But regardless from that, dude, I'm 80%.
80%.
Really? You've been getting a little too big for your britches, huh?
Yeah.
No, I never really have to the point. Even when I was getting a little bit loose with my fucking like this, like that, it wasn't like that. But I'm drawing it back down to like the nitty gritty. We're talking about, and this is a complicated dynamic between two fighters that are only like 6-7 pounds apart. Going back to Crawford, he's a wrestler. Canelo's also strong. You know what do you know what the really true tell the thing that kind of like always has bothered me, and I know what I'm talking about. I know fucking Crawford's chin. Crawford's got a pencil neck. I'm not saying he's Adam Schiff from the Democratic Party, but Crawford he's got these spaghetti legs. You know what I'm saying? He does not work out his fucking neck, dude. That dude, he's strong. He's this and that. He's 6 pounds lighter, 1.5 division lighter than innately. But when we're talking about the way your face, like down, body fat and everything, like the torso and the fucking and the neck, it's just not there, dude. Canelo's more stout. Hey, Canelo's got his division.
Canelo's got he's got a renowned bulldog neck. He pretty much doesn't have a neck almost, this dude. And it's interesting because Virgil Ortiz talked about that. Virgil Ortiz talked about how he hit Canelo in sparring with the hardest shot he could throw. He barely moved Canelo's chin. In fact, Canelo even said, "Let's go." That's what I'm talking about. So it's interesting, man. Very interesting.
This is what a lot of people fail to realize. Canelo doesn't have a good stamina. Not everybody's. Might have a thick neck and a fucking hard chin and a fucking thick torso, but Crawford has got the better stamina and the better conditioning, even as he's 38. So it doesn't mean that because Canelo's blessed with this, all of a sudden Crawford's in a deficiency. No, he's also blessed with something else. So we don't have to make excuses because Canelo was born with the fucking big neck. Oh, he was born with a great chin. So what? That's why he got into boxing. So what? Not everybody can get into boxing because not everybody can take a punch. And if you can, we cannot make excuses if you can take a punch. Because if you can take a punch, you just can. So what's the problem?
Yeah, I mean, Gonzalo's the only guy who can get. Gonzalo's the only guy who can get passionate and talk about necks. I mean, you won't hear this anywhere else. I'm gonna tell you. This is what we offer the people here. This distinct character compared to everybody else. But go ahead, Sobers. What?
I was gonna ask Gonzalo. So you said your brother's picking Crawford?
I want to say, and Carter's going to, of course.
So, your brother. So he's the evil twin, right?
He's a malinche.
There's always an evil one.
Fall into the show, guys, because this fight is fucking big, and we want to hear our honest opinion.
That's right. Yeah, people should call in. I mean,
Fucking Biden.
again, people have listen. What I like about what we try to offer in this show is that we see people like have a lot to say. And again, this is a type of fight that's creating dividing opinions. This is your time. Call in. Give us your thoughts on the fight. Give us your early predictions. We're less than 2 weeks away. Now is the time to start taking predictions. And so I actually already have a list here. I only got one name so far. Obviously, we're going to get more as we go along. But come on, guys, call in. Call in. The number's right there in the upper portion of your screen, in the left-hand middle portion of your screen. Call in. Real quick, then.
You know what?
Hold on, Gonzalo. Give me 2 seconds, please.
Yes,
Yeah,
I got
2
you.
seconds. You're very. I know
Yes,
over there in the Philippines it's a different time, but seems like you already got your coffee in.
I'm in Vegas.
Oh shit! Well, fuck! Don't say. Am I gonna have to cut that out or what?
No, you don't have to cut in. I'm just in Vegas, Mr. Brady.
Okay. I don't know anymore. People always after the show, hey, you know. No, I'm kidding. Listen, I wanted to say this real quick, Gonzalo. Swerving a little bit here in topics. Tank Davis is going to be fighting Jake Paul. He's gotten a lot of criticism for that, a lot of flack. One of his former opponents, Liam Walsh, has just recently said he doesn't condemn Tank Davis for that, and he said most fighters would have taken that fight. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. Maybe I don't want to be disrespectful to Liam Walsh, but maybe you would have taken that fight, because how many paydays did you have in your career? Canelo didn't take the Jake Paul fight. So this whole concept, I mean, he like I said 2 weeks ago, Tank Davis could have made a lot of money fighting Shakur Stevenson, and on top of that, it would have been a legacy fight. Instead, he's sacrificing that on a purely circus level fight, and it's not even a real fight; it's an exhibition. So it's not going to count in their box rec. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true, but whether it counts or not, it's a gimmick fight. And you know, this whole concept of, well, everyone else would have taken the fight. Yeah, lower level guys would have taken it. Not guys who have actual chances to make money and securing legacy simultaneously. So that argument just doesn't hold a lot of weight. Let's go to the phone lines real quick. Let's go to, hold on, let me see if this is working. Let's go to 725. 725, you're on the air, 725. What's on your mind?
Hey, how's it going? So, for starters, you know, a lot of people, they claim to know boxing, this and that, but really, you know, a lot of these guys are casual fans, butt buddies, grifters, scammers. And then I find myself thinking, how many Hall of Famers has Crawford beaten? No, I'll go a little bit further. How many Hall of Famers has he fought, in their prime or not? The answer to that is zero.
Well,
zero.
By the way, hold on.
He fought a person with 10 fights and struggled.
Well, hold on. First of all, you sound familiar, caller. Who is this? If you could just give us your nickname or whatever.
Oh, this is my first time calling. I'm Johnny from Las Vegas.
Johnny from Las
Vegas. And I will be attending the fight at Allegiant Stadium.
Yes, sir. Good for you, man. Hey, listen, I'm envious. That's a very good fight to be at. Glad to hear you're going to be able to make it. Well, can I just say real quick? Listen, I agree with some of what you're saying about the resume, Crawford's resume, but hopefully you're not making your pick solely on that, because just because a guy doesn't have as many names as the other guy doesn't mean that that's the sole reason why he's going to lose. Crawford has fought some of the best.
Of course, no. That's just one reason.
And because, listen, people say the same thing about Canelo. People say, who has he beaten that was A-level, who was in his prime? People always bring up the fact that Golovkin was already 35 when he fought Canelo the first time.
Just because you're in your 30s, you know, most fighters in their mid-30s, that is their prime. Floyd Mayweather, his mid-30s, his prime. Golovkin, he was also in his prime, even though if he peaked a few years later, when they fought the first two times, for sure, he was in his prime.
I mean, listen, I give Canelo a lot of credit for those Canelo wins, Golovkin wins.
Yeah, and the issue is, listen, it's resume aside, which really it does make a difference, but Canelo has been there with the big punchers. He's taken, you know, shots from the hardest puncher in the division, which was Triple G. And he's only lost to pure boxers, right? And these are guys who are all-time. Floyd Mayweather, obviously. He was 23 years old. That was ages ago. Then he loses to Bivol. Big guy, light heavyweight, very good, pure boxer. Crawford is not that kind of fighter. He fights on angles. He doesn't stick and move, and he doesn't do his little shoulder roll or Philly shell like Floyd Mayweather does.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the issue with Crawford, he takes a lot of risks, right? So he takes shot in order to give it. And a lot of the times when he struggled, for example, he struggled with Sean Porter. Sean Porter was whooping his ass all over the place until he came up with a come from behind KO. If you fall behind on with Canelo, you're not gonna make that comeback. You're not gonna get that KO. It's not gonna happen. Mm-hmm. That power is not gonna transfer. We already saw how he struggled with Madrimov, who's a 154, right? And the man has 10 fights, so he hasn't even fought the best at 154. He didn't fight Virgil Ortiz. He didn't fight the Charlos. So, and on top of that, people are saying, oh, well, he's better than Charlo, based off what? The name, because he's undefeated? Just because he's undefeated doesn't mean there's no formula, for fighters to beat this guy. Plenty of fighters lose that zero at one point or the other. There's only one Mayweather, there's only one Ali, there's only one Sugar Ray Robinson, and unfortunately, Crawford, he's a great fighter, don't get me wrong, but he's not a cut from that cloth. I'm sorry.
Well, you
That's
know what?
Too far.
You know what, Johnny?
They're
Real quick.
The butt buddies are going too far.
Real quick, because I made a video about that. People should go check out the videos we've done previewing this fight. By the way, I think they're good videos. But you made like I said earlier, that you shouldn't look at a guy's resume and say, "Oh, I'm picking fighter A because he has a superior resume." That the Crawford fans have made a similar fallacy or mistake in saying Crawford ain't never lost before. He don't know how to lose. Therefore, he's gonna win. I'm thinking everyone can lose. And especially since there is a blueprint on how to beat Crawford, because we've seen him drop a lot of rounds, like you said, Sean Porter, Jose Benavidez Jr., Gamboa, Porter, Madrimov. There is a blueprint that an A-level fighter can capitalize on, like Canelo. So you're right. I mean, people are committing fallacies all over the place, left and right, and they're not actually just studying the fighters themselves and breaking it down. So very good points, Johnny. Hopefully you enjoy the fight. Hopefully you call in before the fight. We're going to be taking official predictions on fight week. I was actually going to take some today, but I can't find the file here. So yes, all right. Listen, man, we're going to move on here, man.
And
but
I'll give the first one right here. This is how it's going to go. It's going to be it's going to be a chess match. There's going to be some big shots here and there. Crawford might have his instances. Canelo's going to have a lot of them. He's going to pressure. I give it to Canelo by unanimous decision.
Oh, there you go. Early prediction right there from John Boxing, or Johnny. I don't know. Yeah, we'll call you Johnny. So shout out to you, man. Thank you for your call, and call back next time, right, man?
Thank you. God bless.
God bless. Right back at you, man. All right. That was Johnny calling in.
Can I say something?
Well, hold on. Keep that in mind. Keep that in your pocket there, Gonzalo. We're gonna don't remind me. After we're done, we're gonna take another call here. Let's go to 302. 302. You're on the air. 302. What's on your mind?
I'm on?
Yes, you're on 302. What's up?
Hello? Yeah, this Brown Diamonds, I'm just calling in with my prediction.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm going with Charles Bud Crawford by stoppage. The dude, Johnny, I can see he don't know boxing. You can't go by when Crawford was a welterweight. That's not. He done added weight, mass, and resistance at a higher weight. That's one. Two, y'all keep comparing Bud to Floyd. Him and Floyd is two totally different fighters. Crawford has more skills than Floyd. Floyd might got better defense, but offensively, Crawford has more power, more reach. He has bigger hands. And he has more weapons than Floyd. So you can't try to, that's apples and oranges. Two, Canelo fought a lot of washed up fighters. He fought a lot of fighters that was over the hill, you know what I mean, weight drain. Kovalev wasn't even the same Kovalev. Shane Mosley wasn't the same Shane Mosley. All the fighters, he fought Munguia, no experience. Berlanger, no experience. He fighting scared fighters. Charlo ran the whole fight. Skull ran the whole fight. What Canelo gonna do with a fighter that's attacking him much as he's trying to attack? With a longer reach, faster hands. Crawford has more stamina. Canelo fades. It's like since Canelo got off the Clint Bruderall, he's not the same fighter no more. When Canelo was on that shit, oh, he had the hand speed, the combos. We just seen videos of Canelo missing combinations. So these are things that Canelo fans need to worry about. Y'all keep talking about going way back to when Bud got clipped by Gamboa. That's like 10 years ago. You got to go by how they looking now. When you go look at Crawford training videos, the speed, the accuracy, the combinations is still there. Canelo, all I see him blowing candles out at his birthday party, biting dudes on the back in camp. I don't see him training. I see him biting dudes on the back, walking around, talking, clapping his hands, trying to murder Crawford. He seen Crawford playing with the dudes in camp. He trying to show a video, but he biting the man on the back. He hugging a man from the back, biting him on the back. Canelo looks like he cashed out. He looked like he got the big. Somebody seen him in the club drinking tequila. Somebody in San Antonio, Texas, posted a post saying they seen Canelo in there partying and drinking. So Canelo is in trouble, man. You can make up all the scenarios you want. He's fighting a guy who doesn't smoke, drink, party, stays in the gym. Keep talking about, oh, Canelo is bigger, the bigger guy. He's not the bigger guy. And September 13th, we gonna see. You seen at the press conference when he was getting walked back, when Crawford walked him back using his legs. Canelo got a bad knee. What happens when Buzz step around Canelo's footwork, his bad, horrible footwork, his lead left foot, his lead foot? Man, I'm gonna end it with that. I'm gonna go ahead and end it with Canelo. My prediction: September 13th turns Bud Crawford by stoppage in rounds 10, 11, and 12. You better bet, get your money now, because the Canelo era is over. He made his error off of losing to Floyd. He took the Floyd blueprint, not the pretty boy Floyd blueprint, but he took the Money Mayweather blueprint of cherry picking, and he can't just suddenly turn it on and become the old Canelo. All these cherry pickers is going to catch up with him.
Brown diamonds. Brown diamonds. I gotta ask you something before you go. Because you said a lot. So just to make sure, you're making your prediction based on how you're saying Canelo's not training though. How many videos have you seen of him training?
Hold on. I'm basing my prediction on the speed, the footwork. Canelo can't magically fix his horrible footwork.
I know, but hold on. Let me just ask you a question real quick. Just a quick, because the question was, you said he's been looking like shit in sparring. I mean, in training. How many videos of him have you seen of him training for this fight?
That's the point. He's not training, man. I boxed. I've been studying and watching boxing since I was 10 years old. 10 years old. I just turned 50. I'm still in good shape. I still box and everything. What I'm saying is, Canelo doesn't look hungry.
But based on, but hold on, but that's what I want to ask you. That's what I want to ask you. Listen, that's what I want to ask you, because you said you saw a clip of him looking lethargic in training. The only clips I've seen of both guys training are 5-second clips. So how much can you really determine of a 5-second clip?
Go on Instagram. This is what I'm saying. All I see is Crawford working, running up mountains, going up the incline of the mountain, just constantly working, showing his work ethic. Canelo is not showing no work ethic.
But based on videos,
walk in there.
Based on short training videos that you're watching on Instagram.
That's not all I'm basing it on, but I can see the hunger. It's a different hunger. It's a different spirit and hunger in Terrence Crawford. I'm telling you right now, when y'all see Canelo, when Reynoso throw that towel in or Canelo hit that canvas, y'all gonna cry. Just like Terrence Bud Crawford said. Canelo doesn't look hungry. You bringing in Jerome Buchanan at the last
Hold on, I know. But you're repeating a lot of things. You already said. But let me just say this real quick. So you're saying Crawford is the same. He's going to stop Canelo. Now, we just heard Bomac and Crawford saying the weight's not going to be an issue. Bomac said Crawford should have been a 168 a long time ago, but that they want to take advantage of the 147-pound division. Now, he struggled in some of those fights, Crawford did, at welterweight. His power bailed him out at the end. Now he's going to be fighting a guy his own size. And the last time we saw him fight a guy near his size was Madrimov, who gave him hell, and that was in the last fight. So if Canelo wins, is it just going to be because of the size, or is that excuse out the window?
All right, look, first of all fighters cut weight because you can't, if you fight at your natural weight, how is you going to get all these accolades, these trophies, which are title belts, which we call accolades? How can you get that if you start, all fighters cut weight and they work their way up through the weight classes? Unless you just natural heavyweight, you can't do it. You're not going to be able to make all fighters do that. Second of all, what was your second point?
But hold on, I agree that. Hold on, I agree that all fighters cut weight, but can we agree that some cut more than others?
Oh, you said Madrimov. Let me hit the Madrimov point.
Anthony, did you hear what I said? Brown Diamonds, did you hear what I said? I asked you, Brown Diamonds. I don't know if you heard what I said. I think I cut off, but I said, yeah, because you said all fighters cut weight, and I said, yeah, all fighters cut weight, but can we agree that some cut more than others?
Yeah, of course they do, but they weigh in at the same weight. I don't believe that weight bully shit. I don't buy that weight bully.
Why not?
I've been watching boxing a long time. Huh?
Well, that's the thing, though. That's something.
I don't buy it. The weight bully.
That's something. That's Brown Diamonds. That's something that I've heard quite often when people say, "Well, I mean, that's not weight bullying because they weigh the same on fight night." Yeah, but on weighing day they weigh the same, but on fight night they don't weigh the same. And I'll give you an example. Devin Haney. Devin Haney, according to Mauricio Suleiman of the WBC, he said that when Haney was a lightweight, he would rehydrate more than 20 pounds between weight day and fight night. And Bill Haney didn't deny it. And then Devin Haney, we can see with our own eyes how much bigger he looks like than Jojo Diaz, Kambosos, Lomachenko, Prograis. And he kept saying, he's been caught 4 times now in the face-offs, telling his opponents, you're too small. You're too small. So we see he's bigger than these dudes. He knows he's bigger than these dudes. So he's not saying that just because he's doing it for the fun of it. He's doing it for an advantage.
Look, you know why I don't cry about that? Because every dude I ever fought was bigger than me. I'm talking about in real street fights. You can't bank on somebody being in the perfect exact size on fight night. I watched Mike Tyson destroy all these big dudes way bigger than him. Usyk. Let's go on and on. When you coming in on fight night, skills gonna pay the bills. You know what I mean? All that because somebody rehydrated up. That rehydration can hurt you too. You balloon up too much weight, that can affect you. I mean, like, you know what you getting into with who you fighting. You can't complain about weight when the fight comes. Now, I can see if it's a light heavyweight, like Benavidez, he shrink all the way down to a welterweight. Then I can get that. And then he balloon up the damn near 200 pounds on fight night. Okay, but if you just a couple more pounds heavier than a fighter, that ain't shit. You know what I mean? It's skills pay the bills. That's all. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, but you just said it. You just said it right there. You said a couple of pounds. That's okay. Okay, what we're talking about here with Haney is not just a couple of pounds. It's more than 20 pounds. And you keep saying, well, everybody cuts weight. Yeah, Lomachenko will cut weight too to make a 135, but then he'll move up to 143 on fight night. When you're 143 on fight night and you're fighting a guy like Haney who weighs 165 on fight night, that weight will make a difference. Now, like you said, in certain cases, skills can overcome all of that. Like Lomachenko, a lot of us thought he beat Devin Haney on fight night. The weight didn't help him win.
What did weight do for Haney against Ryan Garcia?
But
Ryan Garcia beat
when you
his
said
ass.
you said Mike Tyson, you said Mike Tyson beat all these. You said Mike Tyson beat all these heavier guys. And okay, so you're saying you're giving Tyson props for beating bigger guys, meaning being bigger is an advantage. And that Mike Tyson is so good that he beat them despite all of that. But you're admitting, in other words, that being bigger is an advantage.
Bigger, that's what I mean. Bigger doesn't mean stronger. Bigger doesn't mean better. So you can't just bank on that. Don't get in the ring. If you worry about a guy in real life fighting, the size ain't gonna never be perfect. So what? Well, if a dude that's bigger than me approach me, the fight, what, I'm gonna be a coward and don't fight him? Cause I'm not gonna have the same enthusiasm or my skills not gonna be the same because he's bigger. No, bigger might be an advantage for me because he's bigger than me. He's gonna be slower. Okay,
but you're saying it might. But you're saying it might. So it's not always a disadvantage. It can be an advantage.
All right, what did the weight do? What did the weight do for Ryan? What did the weight do for Devin Haney against Ryan Garcia?
They were the same weight on fight night. They were around the same weight on fight night. They were about the same weight. They both weighed in over 160 on fight night. So there was no weight discrepancy between Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney.
I mean, so what point is you? Well, what's the point? We talking about Crawford, who is smaller than posed, quote unquote, smaller than Canelo.
No, he's not. You just said earlier. You just said earlier. You just said earlier. We just established earlier. He's not going to be that much smaller than Canelo. Bomac just recently said Crawford should have been at 168 years ago, but that they only stayed at 147 to take advantage of that weight.
But Canelo been acclimated to the weight. Realistically, Canelo been acclimated to the weight. So if we using weight as an advantage, then you can say Canelo got an advantage.
Not if they don't weigh. Not if they don't weigh the same on fight day.
If Canelo beat Crawford, I'm gonna give him his full credit because Bud chose to get in the ring with that man. Can't make no excuses. He wanted the challenge. Now he got a challenge. You know what I mean? He better show up and show out like I know he is. But if Canelo beat him, I'm not gonna say, oh, Canelo was the bigger fighter. He was supposed to win. No, Canelo won. That's what I'm going to say. Because skills pay the bills. When you get to a certain age, can't keep making no excuses. Bud 38, Canelo 35. He old enough, like you can't make no excuses. But in boxing knowledge, yeah, he doing something that boxers say you can't do. He jumping up 3 weight classes. And speaking on Majimov, the Majimov fight, Crawford turned Majimov into a breakdancer all night. People talking about Crawford lost and Crawford barely won. Man, he beat the shit out of Majimov. He had Majimov wearing hater blockers at the end of the fight, wearing shades because his shit was all closed up and beat up. Looked like he got in a fight with a damn honey badger. His face was all busted up. Every time Bud caught him with a good shot and hurt him, he ain't want to engage. Majimov was a breakdancer all night. So if I was Crawford, I wouldn't be trying to brawl with a dude that's tricky like that either. You got to take precaution. So the fight didn't look, people got spoiled. We've all been spoiled because Crawford KO'd everybody at welterweight. He went up and there's something else people not talking about. The fight took long to come on. Crawford was in the back looking like he was asleep. He wasn't
no, hold on. You said no excuses. Hold on. You said no excuses. You said no excuses. Hold on. You said no excuses. You said no excuses. So I don't want to hear about that. I don't want to hear about the backstage. I don't want to hear about how long it took. I don't want to hear about how to take a shit before the fight. No. No excuses. That's what you said.
Let me finish. You cut me off. What I'm saying is he would have knocked Majimov out If you watch the fight, he didn't get warmed up until 6 rounds. That's when he really started letting his hands
Excuses.
go.
Excuses.
Because at first it was a chess match. Now I watched the fight. He ain't let his hands go into the 6th round. He came out there cold. That's not making it.
Brown Diamonds, you were doing well. Brown Diamonds, sorry to interrupt, man, but you were doing well until you started making excuses for Crawford. He could have knocked him out. Well, he did knock him out.
I'm not making no excuses.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Out of Majimon.
You're making a whole bunch of excuses for Crawford. I don't think you could have made more excuses.
No, y'all making excuses for Canelo. Y'all got on topic talking about.
You just said he came out cold. You just said he came out cold. You just said he came out cold. If he would have prepared, poor Crawford, he wasn't prepared. He wasn't warm up. Poor little cold Crawford.
If a dude walk up and slap the shit out of a man, and I say, "Oh, he slapped the shit out, dude," is that false? Is that making an excuse?
That's a horrible comparison. So it's okay for a fighter. If a fighter shows up 20 pounds heavier than his opponent on fight night. No excuses. But if Crawford chose to go into the ring cold, all of a sudden, poor Crawford, he didn't warm up properly.
He
was cold.
No, he didn't.
He was a little shivering. He was shivering. Crawford was shivering.
They had a long concert that they never done before.
Whose fault is that? Whose fault? How is that? That's his fault. That's his fault.
Come on, man.
Listen,
Brown
Diamonds, y'all keep making excuses for Crawford. I mean, come on. You were doing well until you said that. We got to move on. You just did. Everybody heard it. Everybody heard it. Everybody heard it. Everybody heard it. Yeah, you did. You said he could have stopped him. You said he could have stopped him. Oh my goodness gracious, this guy won't stop. You said he could have stopped him if he wasn't cold. That's an excuse right there.
Okay, all right, that's an excuse. Okay, I'll let you get that. I'll let you get that.
That's all I needed.
Why is we talking about Bud being a weight bully when we should be talking about the skill set on how he's going to dissect and demolish Canelo?
Well, you already said that.
We need to talk about.
I know. Well, because you already said that. That's when we started talking about something else.
This ain't even a topic, though.
It is a topic. We just brought it up. But anyway, listen, we've had you on the line for 18 minutes now. It was a good call. Don't forget to call in on Fight Week. We're going to be taking more predictions and talking more about this fight. So,
I showed up going to call in.
All right. We got to move on, though. Brown Diamonds, thank you for your call.
Okay.
All right, man. Thank you for calling in, man. Have a good morning.
By stoppage.
All right, man. Take it easy, man. Thanks for calling in.
Maybe.
All right, that was a good call, man.
I really hope he calls back after the fight.
Can I say something, Mr. Brady?
But real quick, I mean, he did make an excuse. He said coming in 25 pounds heavier than your opponent fight night. Oh, no excuses. But then he was making excuses for Crawford. Couldn't stop Madrimov because he was shivering and he was cold coming into the ring. He didn't warm up properly. That's an excuse. That's an excuse.
Everything was like, oh, Canelo had a bad knee. So if I have a bad knee in 2023, can I heal my knee and be okay by 2025? Of course. Stem cells, fucking knee brace, fucking exercise, doing the squats. Of course, my knee can always. Injury is not the telltale sign that I'm fucking old. Remember, Crawford's 38, Canelo's 35. And another thing that I noticed, and I think it was that guy. That's why I wanted. And it's kind of going against like that. I'm not trying to defend my point of view. I'm kind of agreeing with him, but at the same time, I'm kind of like separating myself to where what he says is not the same. There's only one Muhammad Ali. There's only one Sugar Ray Robinson. Well, of course, motherfucker. There's only one Muhammad Ali in the 1960s and then fucking one Sugar Ray Robinson in the 1950s. There's only one Canelo Alvarez in the 2010s, 2020s, and there's only fucking Terrence Crawford in the 2020s and the 2010s too. That one Muhammad Ali and the one fucking one fucking Sugar Ray Robinson doesn't mean that another fucking boxer, human being, cannot come into this day and age to where that guy is like him. No, dude, there's only one Terrence Crawford. Yes, but there's only one fucking Canelo Alvarez. Different styles. And remember, Canelo Alvarez is not getting. That's what this guy. He's got a bad knee. There's only one sugar. Were you born in the 50s, motherfucker? I was born in 1978. Motherfucker, you said you're 51. You're not only but fucking 5 years older than me. You were not born in the 50s. You
all right. Gonzalo, what
Facts.
the fuck?
Facts. Fucking facts.
I don't even know where
Gonzalo.
this is going. Well, go ahead, Sobers. What were you going to say?
Facts. I'm just saying facts, Gonzalo. I'm just saying everything you say is all facts.
All right, now listen. I wanted to say this too. It's interesting, just for general knowledge. Some of the things that these people do with science now is amazing. When it comes to tendon injuries or shoulder injuries and stuff of that nature. Before, if you had let's say a shoulder injury from throwing too many left hooks, for example, they would inject cortisone into the shoulder, and that would last for a little bit, and then you would have to take it again. But then I think there were adverse effects if you take too many of those shots of those anti-inflammatories. Now, apparently, what they do is they'll take your blood. I heard this on Joe Rogan, so who knows if it's true or not. It was years ago. But they take your blood, they put it in some sort of a spinning thing. They spin the blood, and then it generates more blood cells by doing so. And then they re-inject that enriched blood into the injured part, the injured body part. Of course. And that helps speeds up the healing process. So it is amazing the things that they can do now with injuries, especially if you have as much money as Crawford and Canelo do. They're going to get the best. Of course. They're going to get the best. Of course, yeah. So they're going to get the best. So it's interesting how these cortisol shots or cortisone, whatever they are, that's all in the past. You don't need to get those things anymore, which actually end up hurting you in the long run. So interesting right there. Now, interestingly enough as well, going back from one face of boxing to another, Anthony Joshua, who last we saw him in 2024 was getting knocked out by Daniel Dubois, is apparently going to return in January. And apparently his handlers aren't even looking for a tune-up. They're looking to fight Tyson Fury. But before we continue with that, hold on a second. I just checked. We got a phone call here. Let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to 267. 267, you're on the air. 267. What's on your mind?
Hey, good morning, everybody. So, I mean, I think there's been a lot made about size in the fight with Canelo and Crawford, but I mean, I don't think it matters if Crawford's bigger or not because everyone Canelo fights has been bigger than him. And at the end of the day, Canelo probably has right now at this moment has the best chin in boxing, and he's used to getting hit by bigger guys. He's a bigger puncher than Crawford. I don't think Crawford can knock out Canelo. He has a path to victory, but he's gonna have to counter and move. He's going to have to move the whole time. He's carrying like an extra, who knows how many pounds on his legs. I don't know if he can do that because at the end of the day, he fights, Crawford's a counterpuncher and he likes to fight at the mid-range. And if things, if once the pocket's established, if he gets to a position where he's disadvantaged, he's got a good lead hand and he'll use it to try to turn his opponent while he's like pivoting and lateral stepping out or like disengage and then step back in. But he fights at the medium at the mid range and he works off counters. But I mean Canelo's a good counter puncher too, and I think his footwork is a little bit underrated because they just there's different kinds of footwork. Like look at Bivol and then look at Inoue. Both have good footwork, but they use it differently. And like. Or Bivol and Beterbiev. So Canelo doesn't get enough credit for his footwork. He stalks in, he shuffles in, he takes half steps, like he steps in with the rear foot first, and he's like always solid. And anything his defense misses, his chin kind of like makes up for the rest. And he does well against counterpunchers that are trying to counterpunch him. And it doesn't matter if Crawford's gonna have to throw. If he maintains the same amount of activity as he usually does, I mean, at some point, Canelo was very good at threading punches in between, and the more he opens up, the more opportunities Canelo has to throw punches. And Canelo does know how to throw punches with both hands. He doesn't throw a lot of variety of punches, but he throws punches with both hands, like left hooks to the liver and kidneys, left hooks upstairs, overhand rights. Right hooks and right uppercuts, and like he kind of uses his punches when guys that are trying to make an escape or pivot out, he uses uses punches in the pocket and he uses footwork pressure to establish the pocket. So I just think Canelo is just used to, no disrespect to Crawford, but just Canelo is just used to fighting bigger, heavier guys. So at the end of the day, even if Crawford comes in heavier, he's carrying more weight, and Canelo's already fought a guy that size. So I don't know how much that matters. But
well, you know what? People say that Crawford, yeah, that's a big question. How's he going to fight carrying more weight? But if you look at the, I'm just looking at the weights here, fight night weights for the Madrimov fight. And according to that, Crawford ended up weighing 168 on fight night. And he just recently came out and said, he just recently came out and said that he's not going to be, this is going to be good for him because he's not going to be cutting muscle anymore. So maybe he will perform well at 168. But here's the other thing you mentioned. You mentioned that Crawford, there's a path to victory. I agree with that. I agree that there's a path to victory. But I've been thinking about something, and I want to get your opinion on this. I have this crazy idea. That Crawford, everyone's expecting him to box. Turki Al-Sheikh had to come out and say, please, no Tom and Jerry fights. I don't want to see that. Is it possible, whether it works or not, but is it possible that Crawford at some point is going to try to back Canelo up and try to work that body to try to take away stamina from Canelo in the late rounds?
I do. You know what? Actually, I do think that's possible, but I don't think he's going to do it in the later rounds. Well, he'll do it in the later rounds if he has to, like in the Madrimov fight. I watched that fight like 3 times and scored it, like with days, time apart each fight, so I wasn't remembering, and I never referred to my old scorecard. Every time I scored it, after 10 rounds, I had it 5 rounds apiece. And then after the 10th round is when they had the shot in the corner, and Bomac was like, you got to do more, which is him telling him, you're not winning this fight necessarily. You got to you have to, it's a close fight, and it's anyone's fight. You have to do something. And if you watch that fight, Crawford opened up more in the 11th and 12th round. He took more risks because it's the end of the fight anyway, so he doesn't have to save his gas. And he opened up more, but he was stealing rounds. He was doing like a sugar, he was stealing rounds, and he won that fight in the 11th and 12th round. He might do that again in this case, but I think when he's fresh in the beginning of the fight, I do think Crawford, to try to prove a point, is going to try to press Canelo. I think he's going to try to use footwork pressure and move in and try to stalk Canelo. But I think the first time that Canelo lands something clean and he gets a taste of it, it's gonna change his game plan a little bit. I think Crawford's smart, and any smart fighter, when you get in there and you get stung, and you get a taste of the guy's power the first time. If it's enough where you're respecting his power, it changes your game plan because you can't be reckless. So I think he'll try to press him in the beginning, and once Canelo catches him with something clean, it's gonna change. I'm not gonna say he's necessarily gonna get on his bike, but he's gonna have to move more, and he's gonna have to work a little bit more off the back foot like he does. Wait for Canelo to come to him, which Canelo will. Canelo's gonna stalk him the whole time, so he's gonna wait for Canelo to come to him. He's gonna try to find counters, and then if he doesn't find counters, he's either gonna clinch to reset, or he's gonna pivot and lateral step. If he wins that way, it's going to be an ugly win. And then there's going to be a bunch of controversy at the end. Some people are going to say, well, Crawford was showing ring generalship, or that IQ of he was making, Canelo chase him around. And then other people will say, well, Canelo was on the front foot all night and he was backing up the whole time. So if Crawford wins that way, it's going to be an ugly win.
Well, we'll see what happens.
I do think Canelo will drop Crawford, though.
All right. Yeah. Well,
at some point in the fight, I think he will score a knockdown.
We shall see. Indeed, we shall see. We're all very excited for that. Well, listen, man. Thank you for your call. Very good call. Call back next time. And
hey, you know what? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Hey, you know what? I'm sorry because at the conversation got so heated about Canelo. Originally, when I called in, I wanted to talk about the Inoue fight.
Oh yes, go ahead.
The Inoue fight is far more compelling because it's so. A couple of years ago, at the end, after Inoue beat Fulton, back in the day, a couple of years ago, Robert Garcia had a boxing YouTube channel, and then he and PETA, PETA's son, with, I think, his niece, that girl Christina. They would do like a recap show, a podcast, so like on Mondays or Tuesdays, and just talk about the fights that happened in the weekend. I heard Peter Garcia tell a story. So you can go back, anyone can go back and look up the channel and just look. I don't remember which episode it was. I think it was after the Fulton fight or after like the Doheny. It was after one of Inoue's fights.
Mm-hmm.
Peter was in Japan with Robert for one of their lower weight class guys, and they were talking. They were in Ohashi's gym, and they were talking to Mr. Honda from Tekken Promotions, and he was referring to this. Peter was referring to this conversation, but the conversation took place before the Fulton fight actually happened, and everyone was talking about that Inoue Fulton fight was going to be 50-50, and Peter went in there and he was talking to Mr. Honda, shooting the shit with him. He said, "All right, so you're fighting Fulton in a little bit. That's going to be a tough fight, yeah?" And Mr. Honda said that fight is going to be so easy for Inoue. The style is just a perfect matchup for him, and Fulton has no power. And Mr. Honda said the toughest fight for Inoue at 122 is going to be MJ Akmadalia's. Because MJ can fight, and he has a very, very heavy punch. Because MJ's like, they've had guys in their gym that sparred MJ, and they all said the same thing, that MJ can fight. His hands are fast, and he has a very, very heavy punch. And Inoue, like from what I've seen, Inoue, and I've been watching Inoue since the World Boxing Super Series. I started watching him in like 2016, and then it went up into the WBSS where he beat his first fight with
Payano.
with Donaire, with Nonito Donaire, and he won,
the final.
And that was that led the road to the undisputed. But Inoue has always kind of he's looked less spectacular when he fights southpaws. He fought Juan Carlos Payano in that series, and he knocked him out in the first round, and he looked great. But every southpaw he's fought since then has given him some problems, and he doesn't look bad, but he looks less spectacular. And they knew that this MJ fight was going to be it. Luckily, it happened at the end because of the title rotation, but he fought Marlon Tapales to become undisputed. Tapales gave him a great fight. That was a great fight. And then he fought Luis Neri for like revenge for Japan or whatever, and Luis Neri was a heavy-handed southpaw, and he dropped him for the first time. And then he's just looked less spectacular against southpaws, and I think he fought that TJ Doheny fight after Goodman pulled out, because Doheny usually fights at 126, and he's a bigger guy. He came down for the fight with Inoue, and he's a southpaw. That turned out to be an easy fight, but anyway, I think they all know, even on their side of it, and they're pretty smart about their matchmaking, that MJ is going to be the toughest fight. So I think this is going to be the best fight of the whole weekend. And Inoue's been fighting a lot more aggressively these days as well. If you look at his career and the way he's developed as a fighter, his aggression level in each fight, he would turn it up once he gets a feel for the guy, and the more comfortable he gets, you could see the more aggressive he gets. And in the last like 2-3 fights, I feel like he looks like a guy that's like fallen in love with his own power. And he's just coming right off the bat. He puts his foot down earlier than he used to, and he's been fighting a little bit like borderline reckless, which, I mean, it's kind of, that might be a problem against someone like MJ.
We got to keep in mind, this is like his 5th division now at this point, and he's been looking human. And that MJ fight, it's gonna be interesting, man, because a lot of people that I've talked to are saying, "Oh yeah, Inoue, of course, nobody picks against Inoue," but he can't just show up and go, "Oh, I just gotta show up and win." It's gonna be a tough fight. So it's interesting that you mentioned that about the Peter conversation with Honda. That's gonna be interesting. But listen, caller, man, we gotta move on here. But call back on fight week when we start taking official predictions, all right?
Yeah, Inoue Akmadaliev, that's going to be the fight of the weekend. That's going to be a great, great fight. And Inoue could lose. But, thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Call back next time. Take it easy out there. Yeah, that was something that I wanted to get into, the MJ thing. I think the phone lines, all right, I'll leave them open for a little bit more because we still got a lot to get to here. Real quick, before we get to the Inoue MJ thing, because now the caller got me fired up for that one. Real quick, Anthony Joshua, like I said, he's going to be coming back and they're targeting January. No tune-up apparently. They want to get in there with Tyson Fury. I would have thought that they would have gotten him a couple more tune-ups, or some tune-ups rather, the way they did with after he lost to Usyk the second time. They got him 2 fights, one against Jermaine Franklin and then against what's his name, Helenius, and to a certain degree, Otto Wallin. I mean, that was a tough fight too on paper, but turned out to be very easy. So I'm surprised that at this stage in his career, AJ, they're not getting him a tune-up, especially after a stoppage defeat. So we'll see what happens with that. I think AJ would do well to get a tune-up and then maybe target the Hrgovic fight, because I do think Hrgovic is sort of like the weak link in the top 10. He has a little bit of give in him. He tends to give up a little bit, looks dejected, and he doesn't hit that hard compared to some of the other behemoths at heavyweight. So that would be a good comeback fight for AJ. And AJ is also in a good position to reclaim his throne as the best British boxer on the planet and the biggest attraction, because Dubois sort of took that away from him when he beat him last year. But then Dubois just recently lost against Usyk, barely put up a fight. So now there's an opening there for Joshua to come back in and swoop that back and reclaim his throne as one of the best British boxers and one of the top 3 heavyweights in the world. Even though he's 35 now, I think he's about the same age as Canelo. Heavyweights tend to age slower, so we'll see what happens. I'm very interested in that as well. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Really helps us out. This is the BDA Morning Show. We're talking about a whole bunch of things. Make sure to stay on board for that. All right, let me talk about the MJ fight then real quick here. Because, if there's 2 guys out there that boxing fans just won't pick against now, who are pretty much looked at as unbeatable, that's Usyk and Inoue. You don't pick against them. They're just, not only are they skilled, but they're faster. In Inoue's case, he hits hard even at 122. He stopped all of his opponents at 122. And, the last time he went the distance was against Donaire in 2019. And even then, he managed to drop Donaire. So very few people managed to escape unscathed against him. Now, he has been looking human in his last couple of fights. Against Neri and Cardenas, he ended up hitting the canvas. But interestingly enough, he hits the canvas, but he gets up, corrects those mistakes, and never again gets caught with the same punch. Or rarely does he get hit with the same punch. He dominates opposition and he stops him. But again, he's there to be hit. And MJ, with a record of 14 wins, 1 loss in 11 knockouts, he can crack. He might not have the same explosiveness as Inoue. He might not be scoring flash knockdowns like Inoue does, but he can crack. He's a tricky southpaw, and apparently, from what I'm hearing here, he's confident as well. He's speaking like he believes he can win. Check out what he had to say to Ring TV. He said, "I am finally getting the opportunity to fight Inoue. I've worked very hard to be in this position. I'm going to show everybody that I'm the real deal. Come fight." Now, then he says this, "I can hurt anyone with my punches, and I believe in my power. He's not an exception. My job is to beat him, and I will do everything to achieve that. I have the whole package to compete at the highest levels in any department." Then he went on to say that Inoue was untouchable in the lower weights, but now he's been struggling, particularly against Neri and Cardenas, due to the weight. He's fighting tougher and bigger guys. That gives him issues. If either one of us gets caught with a clean punch, the knockout will be there, he says. If we exchange and fight in an all-out war, the knockout is definitely going to happen. So MJ is very confident that he can stand up to Naoya Inoue. Now, he mentioned the fact that Inoue has been looking human at 122. I want to bring up the what's it called? Tapales fight. Because Tapales was giving Inoue the business too. He was touching him up. He was touching him more consistently than Neri and Cardenas did. Because Cardenas and Neri had success early, and then they just got wiped out. They got outboxed prior to getting stopped. Tapales, even though he was hurt, he was still consistently landing more shots than both those guys did on Inoue. So Inoue is there to be hit, and he's looked human. Isn't it funny that Inoue took on the best guy at the time in Stephen Fulton on his first fight at 122. Inoue's first fight at 122, straight up, he fought the best guy. No tune-ups, no nothing. And that was, so far, that's been his easiest fight. Cardenas, Neri, Tapales, they all had more success than Fulton did. To a certain extent, TJ Donaghy, too, also had more success than Fulton in that he was able to stifle some of Inoue's offense. Certainly more than Fulton did. So, I don't know, it's weird. I don't think I've ever seen that. A guy move up in weight, no tune-ups, take on the best guy at the time, have an easy time with him, and then subsequently start looking less than stellar against some of the other dudes. So that's an interesting factoid right there. That's an anomaly, if ever there was one. But MJ too, look, MJ can talk about being confident and all that. Many people have said that before fighting Inoue. Let's not forget that MJ's sole loss, because I mentioned he does have a loss, was against the aforementioned Tapales. And he looked a little bit shell-shocked in that fight by way of Tapales' lead left hand. And not just a lead left hand, like just a 1-2. He just couldn't get away from that left hand. And then he did end the show strongly. He ended stronger than Tapales late in the fight, but he lost a whole bunch of rounds early. So if he was getting shocked by Tapales' speed and timing, how's he going to react to Inoue's speed and timing?
I mean, there's a lot of gaps, and you could, I mean, like style makes fights and whatnot. Yeah, it's just like it's a little bit blaring. Yeah, of course, because when you got a guy like fine tuned like Inoue, you know he's not gonna give anything away. And versus Medallia, you know the Filipinos are very cruel. So like if Medallia, he had gaps in his game versus the Filipino who's more prone. And I told you before, Mr. Brady, these guys are more used to being like left-handers. Recall to myself is was Tapales a left-hander?
Yes.
Yeah, because they're built like that. They're built to be left-handers. That could have this is a little bit of a crux. It could have given Magdaliev a little bit of problems. And you know, Filipinos are strong, so strength for strength. Stylistically, it could have been a little bit of a like offset to where it was a little bit complicated, but you know, Inoue's too sharp. He's too quick. He's what do you call it? Descomunal. There's he cuts the gap because it's like a fucking animal. The quickness is just fucking so sharp that it's fucking the powers like at the eye of the tiger. Boom. And he's so focused on landing the eye of the tiger punch that when he clips in return, I'm not saying that he got the Canelo chin, but he can take it because he's so strong, hard-headed that when he's landing, he's so stiff and tough that he's looking to fucking take your fucking soul, that he's not so willing to buckle under your punch on the return, on the counter. So that's but you know what? But you know, I'm not meaning that he's like he got the Canelo chin because he has been hurt before. What I'm fucking saying that it's not gonna be easy to topple fucking the Japanese monster.
Hey Gonzalo, what's with all the swearing today in the morning? I mean, you're saying fucking this, fucking that. What's going on?
Well, because it's nighttime. No, nothing.
Oh yeah, it's nighttime.
I'm just saying, like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's warmed up, BDA. He was doing some karaoke earlier, bro. So he's already fired up.
Exactly, yeah, man.
No, Mr. Brady, but that's a fair point. Like, Medaliev is strong, but we know that muscle doesn't win you fights.
No, I get it.
Yes.
Yeah, we know that, man. That's a given. But by the way, real quick, because I gotta bring up 2 super chats, but I just want to say that you mentioned Tapales being a southpaw against MJ, who's also a southpaw. Let's not forget, most southpaws also have trouble with fellow southpaws because southpaws are used to fighting orthodox guys. Then all of a sudden they see a southpaw, it's like, oh shit! Now they're in line for the left hand more than they are for the right from the orthodox guy. So. It can be a difficult proposition for a southpaw too to fight another southpaw. But let me just say real quick, shout out to Fu TV for his donation with the super chat. Shout out to Fu. He didn't leave a message, but everybody go check out the real Fu TV on YouTube. Very entertaining and informative boxing channel. Also, shout out to Aza, I don't know how you pronounce it. Shout out to Aza, who says, I don't believe Bomac is telling the truth. Madrimov and Bud both weighed in at 169 in the morning weigh-ins, and Madrimov isn't a particularly big 154-pounder. I think he's just trying to gain confidence. Sobers, what do you think about that? Do you think Bomac, because again, I mentioned all the evidence before pointing out the fact that Crawford is not as small a guy as they like to say, but do you think also, though, Bomac might be playing up this whole angle of, we should have been at 168 a long time ago? Do you think that's a little bit of an exaggeration from him?
Yeah, I said, earlier, I think he's just, some of it is bravado, half-assed bravado. He's trying to act like, we're not scared, we're here to do it. But if you guys remember, during that Madrimov event, You remember how they were all rah rah rah. They had a whole concert, and then Turkey came out with the microphone talking about if Canelo knows what's good for him, he better take this fight. And then he grabbed Crawford by his hand. They interlocked fingers, and they walked off stage.
Come
You know
on.
what I'm saying?
Why do you gotta
And
keep
then
bringing
after
that?
the fight,
Uh-huh.
because that's what happened, dude. That's what
All
happened.
right.
So,
All right.
so after the fight, right, when Crawford didn't knock him out and everything, even they're like, "Oh yeah, what's up with Canelo?" They're like, "Oh, we gotta rethink things." Even Bomac was like, "Man, we can't beat Canelo like that if we fight like that." You know what I mean? I remember him saying that in an interview right after the fight. So the energies changed a whole lot after that Madrimov fight. Now they found their nuts again, and they're rising back up. But you know what I'm saying? They're gonna shrivel into a stomach come fight night. So.
Oh,
Yeah,
all
it's
right.
just
Well,
bravado, bro.
that's all right. There you go. They're good for someone to clear that up. And shout out to Azza for his contribution with the super chat, who brought up that point about Bomac maybe playing that up about how they should have been at 168 a long time ago. Now, I do want to bring this up too. Emmanuel Navarrete, another guy with weight issues. He recently had a no contest against Suarez. A punch that should have been it was a punch that caused Navarrete's cut, so he should have been stopped based off of that. But instead, they went to the scorecards, and then subsequently, instead of reversing it to a loss for Navarrete, they turned it into a no contest. Now, in Ring Magazine, I read that Navarrete, they just casually dropped the fact that Navarrete and Suarez might be fighting in the fall. They might have that rematch in the fall. But this website, which is a Filipino website, philboxing.com, they didn't mention any they didn't provide any evidence or any context, but they're just saying that Navarrete is sort of hesitant for the rematch. It seems like maybe Navarrete wants to move up to 135 and get a shot at a title there, as opposed to staying at 130 and having the Charlie Suarez rematch. I'll say this about Navarrete. I think for a long time he was underrated. Everyone's always talking about, multi-division world champions, multi-division world champions. Meanwhile, Navarrete was a 3-division world champion. He beat the crap out of Isaac Dogbo when Dogbo was red hot, and everyone thought he was the next best thing at 122 pounds. Navarrete went in there and beat the crap out of him twice, ended up stopping him in the rematch. Also, a lot of the fights, people like to say that Canelo, his wins are aging badly. And for largely because of that, they're picking Crawford to win. They say Munguia, he couldn't stop Munguia, then Munguia got stopped by Suras. And then Canelo couldn't stop Berlanga, and then Berlanga got stopped by Shiraz. But nobody says that about Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson fought Nakatila. Horrible fight. Very boring. Barely beat the guy by running. And I do say barely because he moved too much, Shakur Stevenson. So when you move that much, you're giving away points by doing that. Then Murataya ended up stopping Nakatila in under 3 rounds, I believe. Another win from Shakur Stevenson was El Pitufo Diaz. He outpointed him. Navarrete went in there against Diaz and ended up stopping him. But nobody says, Shakur Stevenson is on the decline, or nobody says his wins are aging like milk, because he's expected to outpoint guys. When Canelo outpoints guys, all of a sudden he's on the decline, he can't stop people anymore, blah, blah, blah. When he never really was that big of a stoppage guy. If you look at the video I did.
Yeah, Mr. BDA, but like you as well as I know that the gap is not like the Pitufo Diaz and the lower weights. The gap in what Canelo did, even though he's not throwing 600 to like 800, mind you, 1,000 punches, the gap that Canelo's covering between the 47 jumping up to 168 and the crossroads was 160, to where it was that's where he made his bread. I think against Triple G, because Triple G was a great fighter. But I'm basically saying, well, Canelo, he's a great fighter. He's a good fighter. Legendary. Why not say that he's great? That when it really counts. I'm losing my train of thought.
Yeah. Okay. You made a good point. Hold on. You made a good point when you started out by saying Canelo's fighting bigger guys and he's outpointing them. Shakur Stevenson is not fighting. Shakur Stevenson is not fighting bigger guys and he's still outpointing them. He can't stop.
Yes. Of course, and that's the thing. That's the thing. We're talking about courage and valentia, like fuck, and not only like boxing skills. Because look, what does Shakur lack? He has brittle hands and he doesn't have a chin. What does Canelo has? He's had solid. He probably has solid hands, The only time I heard he hurt his right hand because the puncher, he's always hitting the fucking the uppercut bag. He's hitting the water bag because it had a bigger reverberance. And he's throwing the right hand. He's a puncher, not the biggest puncher like I'm Shiraz because he's not 6'3". He's only 5'7.5". He's not 6'3". And Bucho will agree with me. Canelo, what's the dude that I mentioned that Marvin Hagler went life and death, dude? And the guy that used to beat a lot of people up. Canelo's a little guy, dude. He's a little guy.
Yeah, but that's a good point. That's a good point. But as it pertains to as it pertains to Navarrete, because it all ties into the double standards that we see here, and I don't think people do it on purpose. I think they sometimes just miss things. But Navarrete, and again, I was high on him. I think he's underrated. People talk about how he's got an awkward style, but he's actually quite difficult to hit because he'll transition very well between offense and defense. However, in these last couple of years, particularly the last year and a half, I really can't support the guy all that much because I support fighters based on how much they give us. If they take the best fights, if they always show up in shape, and Navarrete does not always show up in shape. He blows up in weight. That's been a known fact now for the last couple of years, and it's starting to cost him. It's starting to cost him. The drinking too can thin your skin. Rarely do we used to see him getting caught. Now all of a sudden, Charlie Suarez is cutting him. He almost didn't make weight on weight night against Suarez, and I give Navarrete credit for being professional in the sense that he didn't just blow off the weight and say, take away 20% of my purse. I forfeit 20% of my purse or a large percentage of it to keep the fight going. No, he said he killed himself to make the weight, but just like with Andy Ruiz and Ryan Garcia, guys who are talented but they don't take the sport seriously. Yeah. I can't get on the side of a guy who doesn't take the sport seriously, because then it's about a product. We're all but hold on, Gonzalo, we're all consumers, right? We're all consumers. So if you go to a restaurant and they're not giving you their best, they're not giving you the best product or the best meat or the best bread or whatever, why should I stay loyal to that restaurant? And it's the same thing with fighters. It's not about loyalty, it's about what you give me as a consumer. And if you're not taking the fight seriously or the fight game seriously, I can't in good conscience continue to support you.
Well, yeah, Mr. Brady. Typical colonial mentality. Look, Navarrete, he looked like a fucking Indian dude. But I'm not harassing and I'm not fucking discriminating because he looks like an Indian. I'm just because when he won
it sounds like you're doing that. It sounds like you're doing that. Yeah, you call him Indio, which is
I'm harassing him because he said. Because the black fighter, the Shakur Stevenson, he got skills. I gotta respect that. He was too timid when Navarrete was coming up against the real Mexicans and fucking the state of not even Tijuana, like in the fucking capital. He only lost one fight when he should have won that one. He was basically undefeated. Navarrete was a tough motherfucker, beating everybody up. But when we said, we're making the big money, we got to cut the corners, we don't got the trainer, then we're facing the Shakur Stevensons of the world. Because he never did fight that guy. And also, you're fucking cowering down the typical colonial mentality. The typical colonial mentality.
All right, but you used the pejorative term there, Indio. I don't like that, Gonzalo. I expected better from you. That type of covert racism is unacceptable on this show. That's all I'm going to say about that. That's all I'm going to say about that. That's all I'm going to say about that. All right? Now, listen. Getting serious here for a moment. So Navarrete, apparently that website from the Philippines, they didn't give any sources or any evidence for that, but they're saying that Navarrete is a little bit hesitant to get into the rematch. But hopefully we see that Suarez rematch, because I don't like loose ends. I like tidy.
Can I say something, Mr. Brie?
All right, Gonzalo, I'm gonna have to move on
Muhammad
here.
Ali's grandson. Well, let me say it's important. Well, let me finish because I heard a year ago that the Thrilla Manila, the 50th anniversary, they're gonna do the Strike Towers versus Navarrete rematch, and I know that Muhammad Ali's grandson and it's coming on the Thrilla Manila. We're already in October or September, and it was put up on Google that they're gonna have the 50th anniversary in the Thrilla Manila, and I'm right now. So they're gonna have that fucking fight in the fourth quarter of this year. So that Top Rank said that they were gonna do the rematch between Charlie Suarez and fucking Navarrete.
All right, good.
Is that a fair point?
I wanna
course.
see it, man. I wanna see it because I don't like loose ends.
I'm here.
Also in the news, also in the news, Jack Catterall taking on Ekau Esuman. Ekau Esuman, you might remember, is the guy who just recently beat Josh Taylor at welterweight. I suppose this fight's going to be at welterweight too. They're saying it's going to be on the undercard. Oh, there you go. Yeah, on the undercard of Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn 2, the rematch. This is a good fight because Esuman already beat a southpaw, like I said, in Josh Taylor, pulled off the upset. He's very strong. He's on an advanced age, but he's just coming into his prime and into his own at this point. And Jack Catterall is a slippery southpaw. He's a slippery Pete, a slippery fish. So we'll see what happens, man. That's an interesting fight right there. Also in the news, I guess we'll talk about this in the next show because we're running out of time here. But Deontay Wilder telling Francis Ngannou to meet him in the ring. And then finally, Bakram Murtazaliev, the man considered to be the boogeyman at 154 pounds. Negotiations for him to fight Josh Kelly. Now, this is a bit of a letdown fight, but I suppose it's the best that Murtazaliev can get at this point because nobody really wants to fight him. But I will say this, man. There was a discussion going on in our Discord about whether Josh Kelly might pull off the upset. And Josh Kelly is a very quick guy. He's got an Olympic acumen, very elusive, but he's also what's the word? I don't know. He's got like a Jorge Linares thing going, particularly in the Avenisian fight, which so far has been his only loss. He goes from 100% battery to 25% from one round to the next. You know, like where Jorge Linares fought Antonio DeMarco in 2011. He was doing very well against DeMarco, very well, outboxing him. And then from one round to the next, he just looks depleted. He starts bleeding. I didn't even see a cut. It's almost like the blood was coming off his hairline or something. He looked like Jim Caviezel in The Passion of the Christ. And then he got stopped. Same thing with Josh Kelly. I don't think he's all that durable. And in his last fight, or I don't think it was his last fight, but when he fought that black dude from England, what was his name again? I forget, but he was outboxing the guy. And then in the last round, all of a sudden, he looks completely depleted, almost like he lost a lot of strength and had to run around the ring to try to get his breath back. I just make it a distance. I don't know what's up with him. And Murtazaliev is the last guy that you want to lose steam against. I'm trying to find out the name of the guy. If somebody can tell me what's the name of the guy that Josh Kelly fought, the guy from England who ended up getting stopped by Bomac later on. So yeah, Josh Kelly, maybe he can give Murtazaliev the work early on because Murtazaliev is slow and Jack Colkey was teeing off on him early in that fight. But here's a couple of differences. Jack Colkey will go for it. Jack Colkey is a guy who throws a lot of combos. Josh Kelly against Murtazaliev, I don't think he'll be going for that. And Murtazaliev does have good timing. He's slow, but he's got good timing with those heavy hands. So he's up against it. Ismail Davis, thank you, Grim Reaper. Ismail Davis, that's the guy that Kelly beat. But in the last round, he wasn't looking all too hot. So it's an interesting fight. It's not the best, but it is a little bit more competitive, I would say, on paper than if Jaron Ennis would have fought Josh Kelly, because at least Jaron Ennis has quick hands too. I don't know if he's faster or as fast as Josh Kelly, but he's certainly up in that stratosphere, whereas Murtazaliev is slow. So we'll see what happens. It's an interesting fight, that's for sure. And yeah, that's all I got for today, man. That's all the news I have. Like I said, I was going to talk about Wilder versus Ngannou, but I guess we'll save that for the next show. All right. Anything else you guys want to say before we move on? Anything we missed?
Shout out to Matt Chad in the chat.
Are you guys still going at it?
Huh?
Are you guys still going at it?
I don't know what you're talking about, video.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Now you're gonna play it cool, huh? Like I ain't going at it with anybody. He's going at it with me. I know the playbook, Sobers. I wrote the playbook. What do you think about that? Now, but listen. Hopefully things get sorted out. Life's too short to be getting into YouTube feuds. That's all I'll say about that. So yeah, with that being said, we'll try to come back as soon as possible. Don't forget to check out our latest videos. We just recently posted a video about when smaller guys move up in weight and manage to pull off big upsets. It's called Crawford's Impossible Mission, Why History Says He Can Beat Canelo. Go check it out. It's on our channel. It's the latest video. And we also have a preview for the Canelo-Crawford fight. It's about 50 minutes long. So go check all of that out. We'll try to be... Oh, and by the way, I'm going to post... I already did a video for Patreon, and I'm going to be posting it today, and I'm going to be doing more because we can do a lot of film study on YouTube because of copyright issues. So I'm going to be saving that for patrons. So go check it out. Go check it out. Go check it out. In the meantime, shout out to everybody out there in the chat. Well, first of all, hold on. Shout out to Gonzalo and shout out to Sobers for joining us here in this early morning show. Guys, I'm glad you could make it. Food TV 2 here was earlier. It was here earlier. Nightmare 2, I think, was here for a little bit. So shout out to those guys. And like I said, shout out to everybody who contributed via the super chat. Shout out to everybody that called in. Yeah, shout out to everybody who called in. And of course, all of you guys out there listening, hit the like, hit the like, hit the like on the way out. What the hell is that? Oh, it's the music. Oh, that's a little too loud. But yeah, shout out to everybody who called in, everybody who hit the like, everybody who listened on today's show. Shout out to Matt Chat in the chat. Shout out to Pugilism, Delta Defcon. Shout out to him. Cooking with Frank, Frederick, Pound for Pound King. Who else was here? Brown Diamonds. He was one of the callers. Sobers, keeping an eye on things. Dempsey Boxing. Team Batman Boxing. Shout out to him. By the way, Team Batman Boxing has a channel. He posts a lot of short videos as well, so go check out his channel. Shout out to Bray. Shout out to Manos de Dinamita, Scrap TV, The Desperado, Alfredo Contreras, Mark T. If I forget, Johnny, XX Dre, GHS. Shout out to him. Like I said, everybody who donated the super chat. If you guys enjoyed the show, make sure to hit the like. Check out our Patreon page for free. We got free videos there. Thank you for listening. Catch you on the next one, fellas. Take it easy. Thanks for watching. Whoa. A little Irish music for you lads. How do you like that?